Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Pinery Boys.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red bombs bursting in air gave through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Pinery Boys. Also on our log rolling and boom running dock, ladies and gentlemen, tonight we would like to welcome our announcer for our log rolling, boom running, and speed climbing competition. Please give a big warm welcome for Sam Fenton.
Thank you, Eric. That's right. We have an excellent competition the past 2 evenings. We have worked through our log rollers, our boom runners, and our speed climbers. We have the best of the best for you tonight.
Hello and welcome to the historic Lumberjack Bowl in beautiful Hayward, Wisconsin. My name is Adrian Flicht, and it is my pleasure to be taking you through a little bit of a journey back in time. We are going to be on the site, the historic site of logging operations, but we are going to be examining them through a sporting lens. I am joined this evening by Chaz Haas. Chaz, professional competitor. We found him going down the river on a Viking cruise ship, and he's joining us today to add some insight. Chaz, what are we about to see on Championship Saturday?
Well, folks, we're about to see one of the premier lumberjack competitions in the world this evening. We've got competitors from all over the country and actually all over the world as well. These folks have practiced hours and hours. They've poured a lot of time, money, and energy into this sport. We're about to see the culmination, sort of the Super Bowl of lumberjack sports tonight.
Absolutely. The culmination of 3 days of qualifying rounds, the top 6 in each discipline, and we are going to, at the end of each one of these events, crown a world champion. By event, we mean a chopping, a sawing, a log rolling, or a boom running, all things that people used to do for pay. But tonight when we say professional, we mean professional as opposed to novice or amateur. There's cash prizes at stake, and these people are traveling the world to make money and to get better at this. You used to be making the rounds on the circuit. Explain what professional lumberjack life is in the summertime.
Well, summertime is really peak season for lumberjack sports. Obviously, the weather's nice out, and that's when most of the competitions are held. So it's a lot of traveling for most of these folks. Oftentimes, it's multiple weekends in a row, really from late April through early October. So you got a solid 6 months of just go, go, go. You are trying to put everything you've been training on to the test, trying to win those cash prizes that you're talking about, trying to make a name for yourself in the sport. It's a lot, like I said before, a lot of time and energy goes into this. These people wear their hearts on their sleeve out here.
Yeah, big commitment of time, big commitment of resources. Although these events were born in the woods, what you're going to see is these are going to be done purely for racing, race-tuned. If you imagine you might drive to work in a Prius for good economy, then you got an F1 race car or a NASCAR and you're trying to go fast around the track. We're going to start with the biggest of the motorsports and the most race-tuned of all of these, the hot saw. Chaz, what is a hot saw? Because these look a little bit like a chainsaw, but not too much.
Well, you get the bar and the chain, but after that, it just about ends for chainsaw similarity for what you might find at the local hardware store. Most of these are repurposed motorcycle engine, usually in the 250 to 330 cc class, so there's some serious horsepower. They weigh about 50 to 60 pounds. It's really a culmination of a bit of mechanical sports, gearheads, and then the physicality of running one of these powerful saws.
Letting the muscle memory take over, and as you said, practice, practice, practice. How do you get to Carnegie Hall? For every race cut you see to get this off, we're going to be expecting times in the 6.5 second range. They're making cuts at home, in other contests, hours upon hours upon hours. How do you get a hot saw? You ask nicely, or you open your shed, and after a long cold winter, the snow machine sat a little bit close to your chainsaw, sat a little bit too close to the gas can, and now you've got these monsters. Qualifying for all the events, stand 1 is going to be the #1 seed. That is not the default winner of the event because their slate is right blank. We got a couple of big dogs on the stage. Who do you like looking at this field of 6?
Well, we got some really great hot sawyers out here today. Immediately jumping out is Jason Lentz. He's been running a good hot saw for the past few years here. We got the defending world champion in the Steel Timber Sports Series, Matt Koger, out here as well. He's never one to sneeze at, but like you said, Adrian, all 6 guys out here have earned their spot. They have cut in, they have put in the time, and any of them could pull it off today. That's what they're all gunning for.
They're all running for it, and the hot saw being the most expensive piece of equipment most athletes have in their rig, there's a lot of extra pressure. You notice the stage is set with plywood under the athletes. There's ballistic shields in front of the athletes. They've got eye protection, ear protection, and chaps on their legs. Coming to us all the way from California on his own airplane. He's got his pilot's license now. Nate, a guy who is never still, makes it easier to get around when you don't have to trouble with roads. We got Jason Lentz, as you said, a guy who almost always runs that hot saw like an extension of his finger. He points and the wood chips disappear. We've got Dr. Matt Slingerland, recent dad and 3rd-generation competitor. He may be a dark horse if we've got anybody. Billy Cornelius, he manages a nursery in New Hampshire, makes sure little trees grow up to be big, strong trees. We got Dave Jewett, Super Dave, a familiar face on the stage, came here as an 18-year-old and never really left. And then fresh off a national championship win, Matt Koger. Athletes are going to have 60 seconds to warm their saws up.
Adrian, this is always one of the most nerve-wracking parts of this event. You get 60 seconds, which seems like it'd go by real fast, but when you're standing up there, it seems to be an eternity. Of course, it sounds like we had 6 saws that fired on their first pull. That's always a good sign for everybody.
Exactly.
I've had it before where you rip that starter cord and she doesn't fire. So then it's quick rewind, pull again, fingers crossed she fires. Again, you get to use that full 60 seconds to your advantage, but it is a nerve-wracking time to be up there.
And in particular, that sound of silence. I think that Simon and Garfunkel had it right, but it's peaceful and reflective, but it's terrifying. You got the muffs.
Absolutely.
The stage is quiet. So they've got the heat a little bit in the motor, but these are like drag racers. They're going to make a hit and get shut down quick, not like a work saw. I'm going to say keep an eye on stand 1. Nate Hodges was looking comfortable. He is a guy who's got his mind right. I'm going to keep an eye on stand 1.
Judges and time is ready. Contestants ready. 3, 2, 1, go.
Well, Chaz, I don't think we jinxed him, but I think Matt Koger was off.
It's going to be pretty close between... Matt Koger and Jason Lentz was right on his heels, but I do think Matt Koger may have edged them out. We'll have to wait for the official times on this one.
Head judge DJ Aderman draws a line. It's a 20-inch piece of wood, 6 inches to make a cut down, up, down. Not all the motors started, even though they started during the warm-up period. DJ's looking for 3 complete discs, even from top to bottom, the full 20-centimeter circumference, or 20-centimeter diameter, rather.
It's looking like on stand 6, I see DJ picking that wood cookie up. It looks like it's a fraction of a cookie there.
Yep.
Matt Koger may not have gotten the full cut off down there, which when you're running these big saws, especially in this big 20-inch block, even just being slightly off, you could be a fraction of an inch off at the top, but that saw is traveling through that block of wood, could come off crooked at the bottom, and that can mess up the whole cut for you.
Exactly. A quarter or an eighth at the top of that block can be an inch or more at the bottom when you only got 6 inches to work with. I do believe you're right. My eyes suggest it was not a cookie. It looks like Matt only ended up with an ookie, and that's not going to stand on stand 6. By my eye, that puts it either down here, may have been Dr. Sling, may have been Jason Lentz for the hot saw, presented by Steel. We're going to go across the bowl, mix it up from motorsports to me, this is just heart and soul. Have you ever been up to 60?
I've been up to 60 here one time, and that was plenty high for me. I actually know both these gentlemen climbing the 90 very well. I used to work with them in the Wisconsin Dells at the Lumberjack show.
And so who have we got on the poles?
Well, on pole number 1, I believe, with the red crash pad, we have Cassidy Shear. He's a long-time competitor. He's been coming up here since he was about, 10 years old, I believe. Been log rolling since he's 5. He's a multi-time national climbing champion. And then on the second pole, we have Tristan Van Beek coming us all the way from Oregon.
Yes.
Another fellow I worked with for several years. Great climber. He's really chomping at the bit these days. He's giving these older guys a run for their money, and he's a guy to keep an eye on.
What you said in terms of time, Tristan, the guy who's logging the hours, working the shows, making sure that he gets better every single day. Cassidy, a guy at 41 years old, keep that name in mind. Cassidy Shearer is going to be active all over the arena tonight, chasing the valuable all-around points and trying to win the men's Tony Wise Award, acknowledging the history of this event, this organization, but also the balance that it takes to be an athlete in all spheres of lumberjack sports. So time starts on go and stops when they're back in that crash pad. What's the strategy on the bailout? Because Cassidy has a pretty unique or I don't want to say trademark, but very recognizable bailout strategy.
Yeah, so Cassidy does the hip slide maneuver. The rules on the way down are you cannot bail straight from the top. You have to put a spur in each 15-foot section of the tree here for the bottom 2/3 of the tree. So that prevents guys from just bailing and free falling all the way down.
All the way to the pad.
Cassidy sort of hugs the side of the tree and does his hip slide, as he calls it. He holds his rope tight, uses the friction of his leg, and then taps his spur in below him to help control his fall, make sure he has a legal climb.
So he puts his hip up against that tree like a gymnast on a pommel horse.
Correct.
And just taps it with his off leg. And how you convince yourself to do that 60 feet in the air, amazing. So who do you like for the winner in this?
I like Cassidy on this. He's got the experience. He's been here before, and he's been taking care of his body. He's got a lot of athleticism. Big slip for Cass, though. Tristan is off and running, and Cass is going to come back down, it looks like.
He got a flat tire on his right foot, it looks like, eh?
Yep, may have had a gear failure, it looks like. We got Tristan just about to the top. He's got a really good climb going, Adrian.
Yep, choked it down. He's making his last
And
throw.
he is up, and now he's doing the hip slide maneuver as well. Sticking that gaff in. Back down. Wonderful climb for Tristan over there. He's going to be very happy about that one.
Pleased with that.
Unfortunate turn of events for Cassidy, though. I'm guessing that was some sort of gear failure. These guys take lineman spurs typically, and they actually modify them.
Right, and go from what a lineman would use to describe this because we got a good view on the screen.
So for the 90-foot climb in particular here, they're allowed to use something called toe gaffs. So traditional gaffs clip in on your feet, sort of right on the heel, or right on your arch, right in the middle of your foot. For the toe gaff, you get a little bit more extension. You get to use your calf muscle. You get a bigger push off. Again, that's only legal in the 90-foot climb since the guys are going so high. They want to give them a little advantage. These guys make them themselves. They usually take an old soccer cleat, grind the spikes off of the bottom, work a little magic in the shop, and here's what you get. But homemade gear sometimes doesn't always hold up.
Yep. Looks like it let Cassidy down. So we are going to be awarding our second world championship of the day. Melvin Lentz won the axe throw earlier today, and now we've got Dave Jewett on the stage. I was a little eclipsed by the umbrella up here. When Matt was DQ'd by the incomplete disc, Dave Jewett winning the hot saw presented by Steel. Congratulations to Dave.
He's got to be thrilled about that.
A guy I normally think of as a hand sawyer.
Absolutely, but he's a pretty versatile lumberjack all the way around, long-time steel competitor. He's been around, like you said, Adrian, for many, many decades. I've seen him running that hot saw pretty well.
Yes, I like to point out the best lumberjack to ever step foot on the Colorado State University field. He passed through and has been here at a high rank. He also runs a piece of equipment. He runs a Rotex still. Most of the motors are a 250 Honda that starts as a single cylinder motor. He's got a 340 Rotex, the snow machine, half the snow machine engine. We do have the times on the board. We had 3 DQs, so Dave Jewett will be winning the hot saw. Just over 7 seconds.
Good for Dave. I ran into Dave last night, asked him how he was cut in, didn't seem too happy, but walking away from the hot saw here with a big world championship, man, Adrian, I'll take that any day. Good for Dave.
It's a good start for the day. He's going to be a big player in the two-handed sawing and the single-handed sawing later. And now we're going to go to the other side of the arena. We are going to see our first log rolling match on the blue stage. We had some great action yesterday. It is bracketed like kind of a March Madness format. We've got two athletes who are going to be, this is going to be our third, fourth place match underway. 1 and 2 are going to be contested later.
Log rolling is an interesting sport, Adrian. Most people think of lumberjack sports. They think of the axes, they think of the saws. We just saw the tree climbing. But speaking to the history of the sport, when the springtime thaws came, these lumberjacks would roll the logs out into the river, and their job was only halfway done. They had to get them all the way down to the sawmills where the wood could actually be milled up and shipped out to the various buildings around the country. So log rolling is a neat sport. It evolved from those lumberjacks trying to float those logs down, trying to keep them free from jamming up.
Yep.
And that's how we get the competitive sport. You got two guys on the same log trying to knock each other off.
And to me, it wouldn't be hard to imagine late at night in the lumberjack camp, the gentlemen, after working hard all day, are trying to establish their dominance. I'm going to roll you off this log. No, you're not. And hours upon hours would be consumed. We have Sam Polentini on the right. Sam Polentini, his brother, will be in the championship match. And on the left, we have Connor Birdsong. Connor Birdsong in the tank, Sam in the T-shirt.
Connor getting an early fall on Sam out there. Both these guys have probably been log rolling since about the time they were 5 years old. Similar to hockey playing around the country, it's most of these guys are log rolling, guys and gals are log rolling by the time they can walk. And they, too, put a lot of hours in. It's a tremendous sport, a lot of physicality in it, a lot of endurance. A lot of times you see cross-country runners or track runners transition over into this sport. It's a long time you're up on the log a lot of times. You got to move those feet fast. You got to have the endurance to stay up there a long time on top of trying to navigate someone else on the other side, trying to roll you off.
And that, to me, is the part that this is a very organized dance. It's not just rolling yourself around. It's the chess and the checkers as you're playing back and forth with what is your opponent doing. We have two very different athletes on the stage. Sam nearly 6'7". He's got long arms, long legs flailing around, and he can take good control of that log.
There's kind of a couple different strategies that come into play in log rolling. You got a guy like Sam that you're talking about, big powerhouse. If he can get control of that log, he can make it very troublesome for his opponent. He can maneuver that log, he can kick it and stop it. He can try and shake that other guy off.
Yes.
Someone like Connor, his strategy might be a little different. He might be just trying to outlast his opponent. I know he was a star cross-country and track athlete at University of Wisconsin lacrosse. We actually went to school together a couple of years there.
Wow.
And he's a tremendous distance athlete, so I know he likes to just try and outlast his opponent, outrun his partner out there.
Whereas when I see someone like Sam on the other end of the log can take those bigger shots, as you said, more powerful, big foot, long legs, snap that log around and put someone like Connor on his heels, so to speak. But if Connor's put in big miles as a distance runner, it's like, great, I'm your Huckleberry. I'll stay on this log all
Absolutely.
afternoon. So, Chaz, what then becomes the mindset? If you know the other guy's got the legs that's under him and the lungs to stay in the fight, what's the mindset knowing you're probably not going to outlast your opponent?
Well, I think you got to get a bit aggressive out there, Adrian. They call it doing a little bit of kicking where Sam may actually try and stomp the log a little bit. If he gets it rolling, try and stop it. They call it a kick where they'll just try and stop the log real abruptly, maybe throw Connor off balance. Then maybe he sees an opening where he can make a move. One thing people don't think about either, a lot of these log rolling programs come from right here in Wisconsin. Very strong log rolling right in the Midwest. So these guys actually probably have grown up training with each other since the time of a very young age. They've probably already spent hours upon hours rolling each other in practice. So they probably know a lot of moves that they're about to make. And they're going to probably have to pull out some new stuff or be on the lookout for a moment of weakness from their opponent.
And the laps, just the laps. So that match is going to continue rolling in the background. We are going to come back to the chopping and sawing stage for the ladies' underhand. Imagine working in the woods, cutting a log to length. Maybe you've done this with your own axes. At the beginning of this heat, Stephanie Node, coming to us all the way from Canada, recognized for setting a world record in the qualifying round. We also have previous world champions, a defending national champion, and I expect this to be about 22, 23 seconds of fury. Athletes are going to go about halfway through on the front, turn, and chop the rest of the log off on the back.
3, 2, 1, go. These ladies
Do have Hannah Quigley on 2 She is not a common name here. Glad to see her making the run from the Northeast. Martha King, ferocious cutter, and Erin Lavoie is all
Erin's
the way
on the
around.
back already, Adrian. She's going to be one to watch. Stephanie's right with her, though. Keep an eye on stand 1 as well. It's going to be a close heat here.
Erin Lavoie is going for the drives. That log is disintegrating.
Looks like Erin might have it down here.
She's got it.
Stephanie just about a half a swing behind. Folks, that's a close race. Martha off right there with them. Doesn't get much better than that. We have some very high class, high quality athletes out here.
And to me, the side of this athletes, the repetition, the preparation, putting your axe exactly where you want it with maximum power, maximum cadence. Erin Lavoie, a CrossFit enthusiast, entrepreneur, globetrotter, somebody who's hustling, fresh off a national championship win last week. Big smile on her face after that result.
Just watching the replay here of Erin, and didn't look like she missed many hits there. You can see they're kind of cutting in a V-shaped 45-degree slope pattern on that block. Goal is to follow your scarf, as they call it. You want to follow that same plane of wood, and Erin put that axe right where she needed to.
It was amazing. I thought they'd set her log wrong. It looked like I couldn't believe that she was already on the turn.
She must have had a good block out there. She made that turn super fast.
So these pieces of wood, all common 11-inch diameter, all aspen logs, but they're randomly assigned at the beginning. So she may have got one that was a little bit better. What do we mean when we say that?
Yeah, so I mean, we try and eliminate as many variables as possible in the sport, but you can only go so far when it comes to a block of wood. Typically, blocks of wood come from the same segment of a tree. That ensures that the grain and the softness or toughness of the wood is usually fairly uniform, but of course there's always some variables. You could get a small knot in there, could get some weird grain pattern, and again, that's why we do the random draw to try and keep it as fair as possible. But that is part of the sport. You might get a good block, you might get a tough block, you still got to cut it.
Yeah, and a good draw there, right axe, and the technique and preparation. Big smiles, genuine enthusiasm from Erin Lavoie, an athlete of the highest tier. We did have another fall in the men's log rolling match behind us, the 3-4 match. Sam Polentini picked up a fall on Connor Birdsong, Connor leading 2-1. What you described was exactly that. He made the grab on that log and said, no, sit down.
Like you said, Adrian, he's trying to use his size and strength to his advantage out there. Throughout all these sports, you see a lot of different body types, you see a lot of different height ranges, strength ranges, and that's the cool thing about these sports. You can really excel if you put your mind to it and put the work in, and you just got to learn how to use your body to your advantage. Yep. Looks like Sam got another fall on Connor out there.
So we're even at 2 there. Sam Polentini,
that may have been 3 for Sam, Adrian.
I guess we missed one. There was a congratulatory hug at the end.
So one thing I also want to point out, you can see that they're actually using a different log than when they first started.
Yes.
They continue to drop the size of the log the longer the athletes are out there. So they start on what's called a 1 log, and then when they roll for a period of time, I believe it's about 2 minutes, they actually drop down to a smaller log. That helps keep the match moving, also adds an extremely challenging element. You can imagine getting a smaller log, it's not going to float as well in the water, it's a little less buoyant. Also, it's going to spin a lot faster.
Yes, I'm obligated to say that the area, it is not the inch of diameter. If you remember geometry class, however many years ago, big change there. You got 2 athletes on there that are a little bit more sizable, puts the log a little bit lower in the water, and then the impact on the rotational momentum and inertia. Big win for Sam Polentini, taking 3rd place. Connor Birdsong in 4th. Next men's match that we see will be for 1st place and world championship. We are going to go back across the pond to our third and 4th place 60-foot climb. We misspoke on that first climb. That was a 90. So this is a 60-foot climb, 2/3. And can you see the gaffs? We're going to the traditional gaff here.
Yes, I think on the TV you may be able to see the gaffs a little bit. Like I said, these are the traditional linesman's gaffs. They strap on in the middle of your foot, right on the arch of your foot. Kind of requires you to duck walk up the tree. You got to turn those heels in real far, try and stick those spurs in. One modification that they are allowed to make on these are they actually bend the spurs slightly. So they'll take them to a welder or a metal worker, have them heated up, and then they'll actually turn the spur inward a little bit. That allows it to still stick in the tree, but then when they're coming down, when they are falling and they crank that foot up, that actually pops the spur out faster and allows them to descend the tree very, very quickly.
So that geometry versus what you described with the gaffs in the 90, that's more of a running and keeping your knees square to your hips, square to your feet, and getting up that tree much, much more quickly.
Correct. You're going to see these guys almost hugging the tree on the way up. Still similar technique. They're going to throw that rope real high. You sort of clench your elbows in and try and grab the tree with that rope. Get just enough friction on that tree that you can keep your legs moving, keep pushing yourself up. These guys kind of do a step throw technique where they'll actually move their leg and throw the rope at the same time. They then jam that spur in and then pull their other leg up, proceed to do it again with another flip and another step.
Excellent. Step throw until they get all the way up to 60.
Again, the same rules apply here, Adrian. They got to stick a spur in every segment of the tree on the way down. So we may see a hip slide technique. Otherwise, we may see some more traditional bailouts up there. You're going to see the big last rope throw to touch the line at the top. Then these guys are going to do a controlled free fall, as I like to call it, where they're slowing themselves to that rope, sticking their spurs in, but they're coming down with everything they got. They're going to slam into those pads at the bottom.
At a speed that is just, it always looks to me about 2 or 3 miles an hour too fast.
Just a little too fast. Like I said, I climbed 61 time here. Nowhere near as fast as these gentlemen out there, but that was plenty for me.
So this will be our 3rd and 4th place climb in this men's 60-foot speed climb. Brought to you by Carlson MD.
At the Lumberjack World Championships from Winter, Wisconsin.
On Zeeley's pole, the Zeeley's pole, we have Devin Blair, a local guy from Winter, Wisconsin.
And on the Zeeley's tree, we have another first-time competitor at the Lumberjack World Championships from Miyazaki, Japan. Give it up for him, Sean Yokoyama.
Sean Yokoyama on the Zeeley's pole, Devin on the Arctic Outdoors.
Couple newer names for me, Adrian.
Yes.
Great to see these guys. We're going to watch these guys here. They're going to be flying up that tree, but I always like to see some new names get involved in speed climbing.
And growing the sport, that part of the tradition. 62 years here at the Lumberjack Bowl, keeping things growing, getting fresh blood in the sport. Good lead for Devin. He's going to get one more up.
There you're seeing sort of that controlled free fall, almost running backwards down that tree. Wonderful climb for that young man. You're going to be seeing him around the scene. You're going to be seeing both these fellows around the scene for quite some time.
Absolutely.
And like you were hinting at, Adrian, great to see some new guys getting in. With many of these other sports, it's possible to, sort of train your backyard. You get some stands set up, you find the local pond, get a log set in, but it's hard to find a 60 or 90-foot climbing spar to climb up. And getting some new guys out here, wonderful to see them at it.
And a strong performance. That part of this, to me, it's a 60-foot climb. You know what you're up to. And those guys never look particularly happy when they get back down to that pad. The red face, the deep breathing, the exasperation, a real commitment.
I'll tell you, it takes these guys sometimes 10, 15 minutes to catch their breath, get fully recovered. A lot of these guys are pretty well-rounded athletes, too. They're training or competing in multiple events out there. So you might be running from a climbing pole over to the log rolling dock or even over to the chopping dock on this side. Some tremendous athletes, folks. This really speaks to the high quality of athleticism that we have on display here.
Yes, some good work done there. We are going to come back to the pond. We are going to be continuing in the log rolling, the championship. Anthony Polentini turns 21 next week, has been stacking championships, world championships, as a professional. On the other side of the log, another world champion. It is Tanner Hallett.
These are two powerhouse names. If you've been around the sport of log rolling for any period of time, you definitely have seen these guys pop up before. These guys are no stranger to rolling each other. They're no stranger to being on the big stage, being on the championship scene. And we're going to see a high-quality performance out of both these athletes tonight.
Yes, and these are our 1 and 2 seeds. There was no shenanigans here, but this is how you draw it up. You want to see the people perform based on their previous performances and get to this stage so you have the best match that you can get. Somewhat different body styles here. Tanner, a very tall, long athlete. Anthony, only about 6 foot tall, but very balanced. Good on the front step, good on the back step, good on the defense.
So the first match that we saw for 3rd and 4th place, that was called a running match. Both athletes were facing the same direction. Running match because oftentimes they get that rock spinning real fast. You're trying to run and keep up with your opponent. This, however, you can see that they're actually facing opposite directions here. We call that a bucking match. So it's a little harder to get that log spinning, but if you can pull the log forward where you're running and your opponent is backpedaling, that's a great way to get the advantage.
And that's the catch with the bucking match. Each people's toes are in opposite directions. So my forward is your backwards. And so it's a little bit, if you're looking in my family, that last piece of pie that's on the table, I got it, you got it, I got it, you got it.
So you can see these guys just slid off that log there. That's actually time for the one log, as we mentioned before. No falls on that one yet. These guys, 2 experienced rollers. They're going to get down to that number 2 log right away.
Yep.
That should speed things up. Again, these guys are going to be no stranger to that 2 log, but we should see a little bit more action and excitement coming on that smaller log.
Yep. Easier to take control of the log, easier to give that a quicker flip.
So on these bucking matches too, you oftentimes, if you pay attention once we get back on this 2 log here, a lot of times you see the log kind of rocking up and down. That's where we get the bucking from. These guys are pulling the log back and forth, get a little bit of rocking action involved versus the quick spinning in the running match.
So stay tuned for a little more action. Log sitting a little deeper in the water. The white water going to churn up a little bit faster, get pushing out even. We do a little bit of wind working through the Lumberjack Bowl. They're getting out towards the lily pads knowing the wind is going to push them in the opposite direction.
So you can see these guys' feet are almost underwater in some cases out there. That can also be challenging. Like you said, Adrian, got that white water kicking up.
Wow, good.
And there you're seeing just how athletic these guys are.
Oh!
Tanner Hallett almost had a full recovery there. He managed to hang on, but there we saw it, folks. Anthony got Tanner on his back step there, and that is a challenging position to be in. Oftentimes, if you can recover quickly and you can bounce back, you're in a good position, but if you got a back step for any period of time, that is a tough scenario to be in.
And Tanner recovered once. He got it.
He recovered once, almost recovered twice, and then he starts to lose his upper body posture. You can see how he starts leaning way far out over the water, and you lose your center of gravity, and it's just a matter of time before you're in the pond.
The arm waving is one of the big signs that people are out of their balance, but what you said, the change in posture, when your headlights get farther over your hips or behind your hips off the log, you're going swimming with the fish.
Absolutely. One of the basics that they teach in any good log rolling school, sort of the knees, nose, toes principle, where you want to try and keep everything lined up, keep that core locked in, maintain that athletic position. Once you start standing up and wobbling around, like you said, Adrian, it's usually game over.
So that is Anthony Polentini up 1-0 on Tanner Hallett.
All right, the judges have called this underway. Anthony Polentini.
Now we got Anthony actually working that back step. He's able to pull Tanner in with his back step. Good maneuver there.
And now, John, you did mention that they will splash some water.
That was even quicker. That was some ninja stuff.
And also, Adrian, these guys are tremendous athletes, but they've been here. This is day 3. They've had multiple matches leading up to this. They're probably starting to feel the fatigue set in. You get down to that smaller log, you got to move those feet quickly. It is a challenging event. You are putting everything you have into it, just trying to stay on that log. It's a grueling way to end the weekend, but a lot of reward for who can hang on the longest.
Who can stay in the fight, and that's exactly it. Some big sunburns, trying to keep on top of drinking water, staying right in your mind. Some great work. That to me, that quick change of direction.
So now Tanner's down 2 falls already. One more fall and the match would go to Anthony over there. So again, I would think his strategy is to try and come out of the gates a little bit aggressive, maybe see if he can get Anthony off balance out there, see if he can make a move on him.
Tanner edged Anthony last weekend. Anthony gets the better of Tanner here in the men's log rolling. Well done. Ice Mountain presenting the men's log rolling in the 2020 Lumberjack World Championships. Congratulations to Anthony. Setting what I understand to be an important historical record. He will have won now 4 championships before his 21st birthday.
That's pretty incredible, Adrian.
Many people work their whole life for a single one, stacking 4 in a row when at 21 he should have a number of years, 3 times. 3 world championships by his 21st birthday.
It seems like this young man just keeps getting better too. Again, he's gonna be a name to watch for many years to come. He's really starting to gain some confidence out there, gain some good experience. three-time world champion. Hats off to that young man.
Good performance there, absolutely. We will be coming back to the chopping and sawing stage with the men's standing block. If you imagine the tree standing in the woods, how would you take the tree down? Just like the standing block. Razor sharp axes. We got some familiar faces. Cassidy Shear, saw him climb and break the gaff. Next stage, we got the big man from West Virginia, Jason Lentz, son of Melvin Lentz, and a history of lumberjack athletes and loggers. Stand 3 coming to us also from West Virginia, another big lad, Matt Koger, a completely different build athlete here on number 4. We got Nate Hodges from California, Dr. Matthew Slingerland, a third-generation competitor on 5, and Trevor Shockwaves Beaudry on stand 6. I'm going to keep my eyes down here right in the middle. I got stands 3 or 4. Matthew has had laser focus this weekend, and he's gotten extra gear, man.
Contestants ready.
I like Matthew as well. He's been cutting standing blocks lights out lately. I think we're going to see a great cut again here.
The talk backstage was going in 18. Matt's in with 4.
This depicts the falling of the tree.
He's got 8.
Logger days.
He's got 11
Jason Lentz
across.
is round first. Matt Koger right there with him. Cassidy Shear, Nate Hodges, Trevor making the turn. We got everyone around, Adrian.
Jason Lentz has got a big chunk of wood, or big chunk out of the back of the wood. He's into the short chip already, but Matt Koger doesn't turn cheap. They're going for the drives, and Matthew's off.
Matt Koger gets it off. Looks like Nate Hodges with the second place finish.
The wood was not there to go in 9 and 9. He ended up with 11 in the front and just a whisker out of the back. I was nervous he was going to have to go back that last little peck to give it the finishing shot. Good W for Matthew Koger, an event he has won before, and stacking on the success of a national championship, his 7th last weekend.
Watching the replay out here, folks, we got Jason and Matt going head-to-head. You're going to see Matt's block just hangs at the end, just had a few fibers hanging on tight. Was able to get that half swing in, sever those last few fibers. Boy, that can be a nightmare out there, Adrian. I've been in that scenario before. You think your block's going to come off clean, but you got to go back for that that final hit, rather. That can take valuable seconds or even valuable hundredths of seconds off. Can mean the difference between first to third.
Breaking your cadence, and to me, you've got your feet set the way you want, taking those swings. There have been several times where I wanted to battering ram that standing block off with my beard and just get it done. After the axe is done with the last swing, it's time to put it away. Good win from Matthew Koger there. And we are awarding the World Championship in men's log rolling to Anthony Polentini, 3-time world champion at the ripe old age of 21. They become log rolling athletes, lumberjacks, become professionals or join the professional ranks at 18, eligible to join at 18. So every year that he has been able to, he's been stacking W's. Good work for Anthony Polentini.
Hearing some good applause and seeing some celebration from Anthony out there. I love seeing that. Again, these guys work so hard. They deserve all that applause, folks. I love to see some celebration and enthusiasm from all these competitors. Makes it a lot of fun.
Exactly. The payoff of all the hard work that people putting in. Big push of time and energy, talking about 4, 5, 6 hours a day on the log, plus wood chopping, plus the time away from family. And this is the outro race amongst the log rolling and boom running athletes. The absolute,
this is the pinnacle.
Yes.
Absolutely. This is home log rolling bowl to a few really good log rolling programs. We have a few other tournaments up here throughout the year, but like you said, Adrian, this is the pinnacle. This is the Super Bowl for these log rollers. They are thrilled to be out here. Big championship to take home.
Absolutely. Good work for Anthony Polentini, and another world championship being awarded to Matthew Koger. He has got a trophy box that is getting more and more filled each year. These trophies made by Hallett Iron Works. The name Tanner Hallett, you heard previously, his father John and his uncle Rich, very active in logger sports and lumberjack sports. But it's Tanner's father John, who is, in addition to a coach and a veterinarian, an artist, a tremendously talented artist. And so he's, over the last couple of years, made some beautiful casting and forgings of athletes mid-event or mid-discipline that are then awarded to each athlete who in turn wins.
Absolutely, Adrian. Getting a nice medal and a nice trophy to take home and put on your shelf just really cements the deal. It's official. You're a world champion.
Yes. Good work for Matthew. Good work for Anthony.
Tell me how it feels.
Similar to how you were mentioning before with the Hallett name, a lot of these are sort of family dynasties that get involved in the sport. You get one or two people in the family, next thing you know, you're a part of a fourth or fifth generation line of log rollers or pole climbers or woodcutters. Pretty cool how that works. Definitely helps having some mentors that are older than you to teach you the ropes, teach you the intricacies of wood chopping or log rolling. That's a wonderful aspect of this sport, is the community. I just love coming up here, hanging out with everybody. A lot of fun times, a lot of helping hands. We see these competitors going head-to-head, ferocious battles, trying to get that world championship, but behind the scenes, everyone's quick to help out, lend a hand, teach each other a thing or two.
It's like Hank Jr. said, it's a family tradition for a lot of these athletes.
Absolutely.
But what you say about community, I'm looking across the Lumberjack Bowl here, Chaz, and we've got beautiful new spectator seating for all of our spectators, and it is plumb full. And the Hayward community really puts together an outstanding weekend here at the end of July in the North Woods, where you can see the history of the space used for logging, not just used for competition, but the people who make this their family gathering, a great time to share with friends and foe alike. So we are going to change things up a little bit. We saw the hot saw to start, 50, maybe 60 horsepower. We've got a 2 horsepower saw now, and it is going to be our Jill and Jill sawing. Athletes are going to have a partner that they choose, a saw that they have brought that is filed for the species of wood, and they're going to race as fast as they can from the top to the bottom. Who do you like in this heat, Chaz?
Boy, Adrian, we got some good teams out there. I'm going to keep my eye on stand 1 down there. I think that they're the #1 seed for a reason. I like stand 2 as well. I think stand 3 could be one to watch. It's going to be a close heat between, I think, the top 3 here.
So on stand 1, we've got Stephanie Node and Andrea Card, not frequent partners, not guaranteed partners, one from Canada, one from California, but good sawyers sawing together, powerful hand sawyers. On the second stand, we've got the defending world champions in this event, Erin Lavoie and Kate Witkowski. On station 3, we've got Nancy Zaleski and Lindsay Down, previous champions in this event, world champions in this event. Next, we've got Kelly Kerrigan and Martha King on stand 4. We've got Hannah Quigley and Alex Miller, a New York connection. And then on the far stand, we've got 2 local Hayward natives, log rollers, boom runners, and crossing over to chopping and sawing here in Sam LaSalle and Meredith Ingbretson. Sam's husband, Adam, applying oil and wedge to the saw, and Meredith recently engaged to lumberjack competitor Ben Hansen, living the lumberjack dream.
Like you said, Adrian, it's a family tradition. Good to see stand 6 up here. Good friends of both of ours. And I think the first final for both of them.
Correct. They were excited that they both were hoping to be active in the log rolling and the boom, but we're also pleased to be making the finals as the top 6 team here.
That's something you're starting to see more and more. You're starting to see a lot more crossover between both sides of the pond. Pretty traditionally, if you pick one side of the sport, you tend to stick with it. But we're seeing more competitors try and get involved in the log rolling if they grew up chopping and sawing, or vice versa. And I think that's great for the growth of the sport, promotes camaraderie with everyone. And again, just adds to the competitive atmosphere of what's going on here.
Being an athlete in every dimension, not as specialized. So I'm going to keep my eyes down here on stand 1 and 2. Kate and Aaron saw well together. I had the opportunity to saw with Kate earlier in the season. That being said, stand 1 is the #1 seed. They have turned the saw's sharp side down. They cut a lot better that way.
They do tend to cut better that way. I've learned from experience.
They use the spine like that, teeth up, to get feet placed right, get balanced so that each athlete is positioned to use every one of those teeth.
One of the more unique events out there from the teamwork aspect. Most of these events are a solo event where it's you and that block of wood, but now you get a partner on the other end of that saw. And it's a coordinated dance. You're trying to work together, pull that saw as fast as possible. You want to keep it moving, folks. Any small deviation, small hang in the wood, that can affect you big time.
Changing angle, steady, smooth, and getting it going. They're off even. I'm looking at
One and
stand
two are going to be close.
Steph-
One's got a slight lead, it looks like. They've
They're
got
half-
a good saw out there.
There in the short log. So you notice the man behind the mask there, it's JP Mercier. His name is also on the saw, and it's not because he wrote it there. He is a saw manufacturer, and you know if JP is there, you are going to have a smoking piece of equipment. Mercier saws on stand 1, 2, on most of those stands actually. Good run from JP, and I think not an accident that he's there on stand 1 supporting those ladies.
Watching that replay, you could see it was neck and neck right down to that last maybe quarter of the log. Stand 1 seemed to just pick it up an extra gear there. They almost beat stand 2 by about a pull and a half, which, believe it or not, that can be an eternity time-wise in this sport. Close cuts overall, though. We saw some good cuts out there. Big hats off to stand number 1. Adrian, like you were mentioning saws before, how big of an impact does having a good saw make on this event?
So first of all, people say, oh, this is like you should come cut my firewood. Please no. The wood that you see on the stage is white pine, freshly harvested, wet, and not free. That's the biggest part, so it cuts freely and easily. A good saw and a good piece of wood with the best team is going to result in the fastest cut. Each one of these saws is tailored to a different species as far as the angle of the cutting teeth. And if you are pulling one of JP's saws, JP is probably looking at that saw after each cut, not after each season, but after each cut. And you'll see them with his jeweler's glasses and his emery cloth, cleaning out the gullets, smoothing out the gullets, and making every high spot on that saw smooth so it is just made to go fast. It's my understanding in drag racing that you'll look at a motor, you might rebuild a motor after each hit, replace plugs, potentially pistons, that sort of thing. These saws, to be the fastest, need to be that refined in terms of their edge. Your pocket knife might need to restone every couple days, couple weeks. If you ever dressed a deer, might have to go back to the polishing or the honing. These are oftentimes or can be one cut and done, and heaven forbid if you find a knot or a particularly dense piece of wood, you might end up all snaggletooth with no teeth back on your saw. Good run for Andrea Card and Stephanie Node.
And I can tell you girls are pretty chirpy right now, huh?
A little bit. It feels great. It's the first time that Andrea and I are sawing together.
So that's extremely impressive that this is their first competition sawing together. Again, a lot of the strategy with this is really find a partner that's local and you can practice with. Again, that makes a huge difference, but you get two world-class sawyers like Andrea and Stephanie out here, put them on each end of the saw, they were able to figure it out pretty quickly. Hats off to them.
The Jill and Jill champions, brought to you by Sawyer County Record. First cut in competition together. That's no pressure for their second cut. So we are going to mix things up to the boom. We've got the top 4 ladies based on qualifying. You see those logs that span the Lumberjack Bowl. Athletes are going to start on the stage, dry, run all the way across on only the logs, and they are going to turn around and run back. Time does not stop until they cross the laser on the opposite side of the bowl. The athletes who do this well will be striding right in the center of the log. The logs will barely rock top to bottom, front to back, or spin. Those ladies will stay dry. If that does not happen, they will be swimming. We had a little bit of, I don't want to say an upset in the qualifying rounds. Previous champion Meredith Ingebrigtsen, who was coming back after injury, did not make the finals, so we really have a dead heat. All 4 ladies that you're about to see have a chance. Katie Burke and Lily Duffy up first. They're going to run on both booms, on the red boom and the blue boom, and we will update you based on their times at the conclusion of their attempts on both booms.
We are ready to go here, our fastest.
A little different than the log rolling. These ladies are running lengthwise on these logs, trying to spend as little time on that log as possible. Again, this is a mix of a lot of different athletic traits. Being a good sprinter certainly helps. Having tremendous balance and strength is an advantage. These ladies are going to be giving it their all, trying to get down and back as fast as possible. Trying to stay out of the water, that's the goal.
Stay dry, stay even. Katie Burke, log roller, show promoter, teacher, and long-standing familiar name in the sport. Lily Duffy, an absolute missile on the boom. They're off even. Look how little those logs move.
Taking about 2 to 3 steps per log, grabbing that barrel. Now those logs are a little bit wet. They're moving a little bit. Looks like Lily's got a slight lead. Katie
Edges
right there with her. Good run for Lily out there.
Good clean run for Lily Duffy. Interesting, because this is the first heat, you can see on Katie's boom, half those logs didn't make a full rotation and get completely wet. On Lily's, most of them are now wet. The other thing that was very prominent last night with the turbulence in the water, what the other athlete does to their boom impacts what your boom can be doing. They're in the same pond. We've got multi-time world champion Abby Heschler Delaney, her previous name, and defending world champion Claudia Duffy. Claudia, an easy pick in the orange shoes, is a favorite. Abby Heschler has a lot of miles on these booms. Should be a fast heat.
Keep an eye on that transition around the barrel, folks. That is something to watch. These ladies are barely going to break stride when they grab hold of that to turn around.
The barrel is anchored to the stage. They grab it and gather themselves, and they're back out.
Claudia pulling ahead at the end here. Fast transition for her down on the far end by us.
Chaz, you pointed out the transition from the boom to the dock. She didn't change cadence of her feet. She just kept the hammer down. That is an athletic performance, amazing. But there's probably a 2 or 3 foot height difference.
There is. That's a big step up, and I've actually seen people crash into the side of that dock or do a rather ungraceful splits coming in too hot, but these ladies barely making stride. That's a big jump up, big jump down.
Yes. So now we're going to see a rematch of the first heat. They're going to switch booms.
Judges and time is ready.
Again, maybe some slight variations between the booms. Try and keep it as standard as possible, but we like to give each competitor a chance to run each boom, take those variables out.
And it's those sorts of things, how you're feeling that day, how the logs are moving. It's the same number of logs. But the problem in philosophy of sameness is tough to match. Even as they come back to the dock, and oh! Katie Burt.
There we see Lily just barely hanging on, as I was mentioning, was able to get just to the end of that log. It's sort of a Superman dive, was able to grab hold of that dock. Laying it all out for that world championship.
Yes, big respect. Keeping the hammer down, waiting on the times to come in.
You can see both these athletes maybe tiring out a little bit. You get out there, get a short break after that first run. You're asked to go do it again. Not an easy feat.
Might help you a little bit if you feel like you're getting warm or getting loose, but also that's miles on the muscles.
Should see 2 fast runs out here again, Adrian.
Judges and time is ready. Contestants ready.
6-time champion.
3, 2, 1, go.
With the red headband and defending champion with the orange shoes. Claudia close at the turn, even and now logs are spinning.
And
wow.
Claudia just edges out Abby over there. Good run for both of them. Saw Abby almost losing her footing on the far end here. Got that log spinning pretty well. Almost have to do a little bit of log rolling to stay on that log. Good recovery by her. Able to finish it out with a strong run. But a great run for Claudia out there. Dancing across those logs with those trademarked orange shoes.
Good run and stage drive. We're going to have to go to the computer timing before we get our final results. Lignetics Incorporated, the presenters of the women's boom run. So the best time overall, independent of boom, is what is going to determine our world champion. And we are not, although this is a sport born in the woods, this is a laser time, computer time, to determine who is going to be the world champion in the women's boom. Then we're going to mix it up to one of my favorite events to see at this stage, the springboard chop.
Down here on the top of the soaring dock will be the springboard event.
Springboard event is really the culmination of all the chopping events. It's another choreographed dance. These axemen are going to start on the ground, and they're going to put 2 separate notches into this pole here. That pole stands about 9 feet in the air. They're going to put a notch into the first bottom segment of the tree. The goal is then to stick that springboard into that notch. That allows them to jump up on that board make their second notch, stick that second board in, then you get up and finally get to start chopping that block of wood.
And what you mentioned about the luck of the draw on the logs, you hope you got a good piece of wood waiting for you after you climb the ladder there, but there is no guarantee. Other thing we should point out, in this heat of the springboard, we have another one of our international competitors. The last couple years, obviously, the world's been in a different place in terms of getting around. We have Ferry Svan coming to us from all the way from Sweden, a Nordic skier by background who picked up an axe. It hasn't been only but the last 5 or so years, if I understand his story, and here he is in Hayward, Wisconsin. He has shown well this weekend, again, crossing over the athlete part. Nordic skiing, Chaz, this is something you've been a veteran of the Berkey. Explain the commitment that takes in terms of preparation.
Another fairly niche sport, as I would call it. There's a lot of commitment that goes into Nordic skiing. Very gear-intensive sport. Takes hours of training, and there's a fair amount of crossover, I like to think, between the chopping and sawing and the skiing as well. It's a lot of similar athletic movements, a lot of short athletic bursts of power, and being an all-round athlete, kind of is the theme of the night, it seems. That definitely translates over well. Living up here in the North Woods, got to find something to keep yourself busy in the winter. Why not Nordic skiing?
Well, Chaz, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Of course, coming from Sweden, that is one of the really the mecca of Nordic skiing. So having Ferry come over to chop wood is pretty awesome. See if we can get back to ski the Berkey one of these years as well.
Yes, big commitment. I was always told anytime I've gone on big cross-country skis, it's because the truck won't start, and so we have no other choice. Turns out some people do this for fun and on purpose. Claudia, after being crowned a women's boom champion, very casually ran across the boom to receive her award and be crowned world champion in the 2022 women's boom run.
Walking the red carpet all the way over to receive a medal.
Good run there.
Tough group of competitors this year.
Tight field top to bottom, and a very good race as we're getting the times. Seeing her final run there. Oh, and in the family tradition.
Shots fired out here.
Claudia Duffy calling out Dad's 5 as the next milestone. She's 2 on her way. Well done for that athlete.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now
Again, good to see these young faces coming up and sticking with the sport. Keep an eye on those names, folks. They're going to be around the scene for a long time.
So we are going to go to the springboard chop from West Virginia. We've got Matt Koger off a win previously in the standing block. Stand 2, we've got Dr. Matthew Slingerland. Local favorite with his mullet on stand 3, Cassidy Shear, and the Swede, Ferry Svan, coming to us from Sweden.
I like Cassidy out here today. He's been putting the time in. He's really become one of the premier springboard cutters in the United States. He's going to be looking to defend his title from last year as well.
Yes. He has made the commitment from log rolling and climbing to being an axeman and a sawyer. So athletes are going to start on the ground, make one hole. Perfect world, they're going to make it in 4 blows, fill that with a board, hop up, make another hole, fill that with their second board, and chop off that 12-inch diameter piece of aspen. Look at how little energy Cassidy Shear wastes. Pop, 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 axe in the tree. They're climbing together.
Cassidy's going for 4 and 4. Both the other mats right there with them.
And they're up together. He's
now
2 blows ahead.
True foot race to the finish here, folks. It's all going to come down to who's got the best axe, who's swinging it the best. How good is your piece of wood up on top of that tree? That's a 12-inch block. These guys have already put from 8 to 12 hits into that tree on the way up. Cassidy's around the back. You can see him swinging that
big windmill.
Switch hitting.
He drew a little chip. It's hard on this 12-inch block. Those last fibers are way the heck out there. Lawrence O'Toole Jr. always makes this look so easy. Just punches it off. Matt Koger. Oh, my goodness. They were too far away for Cassidy Shear. He couldn't get those last 2 fibers.
So we saw Cassidy make that turn first. He was the first one up, first one to turn around onto the back. Maybe didn't quite put his work in on the front. Maybe didn't get quite as many chips out. It's a gamble you got to take up there. Trying to be the first one to make the turn, but if you don't put quite enough hits into the front, can have a bit of an issue just like Cassidy did, putting a lot of driving blows in. Meanwhile, Matt's able to disassemble the back of that block. Typical Matt Koger precision out there.
Yeah, I got to say, I thought Cass was going to pull away. He'd gone way into that turn. He uses that big windmill slashing, doesn't chop. He did draw one chip begrudgingly, and Matt Koger snuck past him. Cassidy got bit by what almost bit Matt in the standing block, that last fiber. He got that.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is
Big thumbs up from Terry Svan.
brought to you by Guardian Pest Solutions.
And that'll conclude the springboard chop presented by Guardian Pest Solutions. Good run for those folks. And Matt and Cassidy are going to be taking another deep breath because they are going to be in more finals as the rest of Championship Saturday unfolds.
Direct your attention to the chopping and sawing duct with a presentation.
These guys catching their breath out there. Looks like we're getting ready for women's underhand.
Wonderful Muskie representative. Matt, this never gets tiring.
Matt Koger, his second world championship of the night. Matt breathing deeply here as he takes the medal from Hallett Ironworks. Good run from Matt. Time just 54:10. To me, a good commentary on Matt Koger, the mental side of things. It's easy from the pinnacle up here looking down. We got a great view of the bowl. It's easy to say what we can see or not see. Sometimes you got to put your blinders on, knuckle down, and just keep doing the work. And Matt Koger just kept the axe moving, ended up with a win.
Absolutely, and I think in this sport it can be easy to be a victim of your own success almost, where you get a big win, you start celebrating a little bit too early, that maybe sticks with you. If you can use the momentum to keep going, that's what we see Matt Koger doing, but sometimes it can be a bit hard to dial in for the next event. Matt's no stranger to this, however, getting his second world championship of the evening.
And I want to break a little bit of a bombshell, maybe a portend of what's to come in 2023. Matt Koger, in terms of fitness and preparation, was seen practicing his log rolling for nearly 2 hours yesterday before the competition. So I'm not saying, but I'm just saying.
Keep your eyes out, folks. Trying to get those all-around points for the Tony Wise All-Around Award. Again, love to see the crossover, getting some of these choppers out on the log rolling logs. Log rolling can be very challenging to pick up later in the game.
For the most part, except in the case of Stephanie and Andrea, it's their first time competing together.
Looks like we have Jack and Jill.
We're going to be able to Jack and Jill sawing.
Jack and Jill sawing.
But yes, to finish that thought, hard to pick up the habits that you make, the patterns that you make. I had an old football coach said never stop squatting, never stop squatting. You're going to not just get weak, but your body is going to be slow to pick that up, those new patterns of movement, and trying to keep that going. And you see people, as you said, many of these folks have started when they were 2, 3, 4 years old, like the downhill skiers in many places. Matt closing in on 30. I don't want to stop his excitement because he sure looked happy out on that log. We are going to mix it up here. What can you tell us about the Jack and Jill sawing, Chaz?
Well, we saw the Jill and Jill sawing before, same concept, except this time we got a lumberjack on one end and a lumberjill on the other.
Same 20-inch log.
Same 20-inch log. Might be pulling one of the same crosscut saws that was used before. Again, if you can find a partner that's local or that you can practice with, or run multiple events in a season, that's certainly a big advantage. A lot of these teams have been sawing together for multiple years at this point, and that can have a big impact on who we see. That muscle memory that you mentioned before, that really comes into play. The more cuts you make, you just learn little lessons with each cut that hopefully stick in your mind. You're going to run into a similar scenario at some point. You just got to be able to adapt on the fly, get through that log as fast as you can.
Get quickly to the bottom. So the other part in terms of picking your partner in this, there are a couple different strategies. We've seen people kind of going through the Tinder of partners where they swipe right and find a good match. Some of these athletes have married into their partner. Some people we've looked around and said, who else is good at this? I'm going to be good at this. And some people are working on getting married. So lots of different levels of commitment in this event. We do have, where is the husband? To make a liar out of me. They are engaged to be husband and wife. On stand 6, we have a long-standing group of dominant hand sawyers, Lindsay Down and Dave Jewett on 5. We have I'm Good at This and You're Good at This. We've got Papa Sling and Martha King. And then on stand 2, we've also got the I'm Good at This and You're Good at This with national champion, 7-time national champion Matt Koger and Kate Witkowski. And then we have Maxime Mercier and Stephanie Node with the Canadian connection on stand 1. The Mercier name, that is son of JP. JP saw, Mercier saw in their hands. Stephanie, a good win in the Jill and Jill.
Coming off some good momentum on that event.
Could be a good look in the Jack and Jill. That being said, Lindsay and Dave here on stand 5, it feels like taxes, death, and them winning a championship. They are regular, very reliable.
3 guarantees in life right there.
Yep.
I also want to point out the third party that's on stage next to each stand carrying that Canada WD-40. They also have a small wedge with them. Each team is allowed to have a wedger out there. As that saw is dropping through that block of wood, they're actually going to stick that wedge in the top into the cut. That helps separate the disc, prevents that saw from pinching, gets a little fresh air in there. Then there's blowing that, squirting that WD-40, that helps lube the saw. Also helps to blow some of the wood chips out. Again, trying to gain those micro fractions of seconds. We've seen some close heats. We're going to see some more close runs coming up here. You need every small advantage that you can tip the odds in your favor.
Absolutely, letting that tool work as fast as possible to give you the best chance to win. One of the coolest parts on this championship Saturday, you'll often see or hear the cookies drop nearly all at the same time. And so instead of 6 separate thumps, you'll hear those cookies hit nearly all at once, a sign that everybody pulled as hard and as fast as they could, had the right saw, had good even wood, had a good shot, and making it go to the computer timing to crown our world champions.
Absolutely. Again, an old-time sport with a little bit of modern technology out here. Makes a big difference versus the old-fashioned way of using hand timers or just your eyesight to try and see who came off first. Also helps settle any disputes over who may or may not have won.
Yep. Making sure everybody's got a fair shot. If you've ever seen a saw hanging on the wall of your cabin or office, the same technology is employed in these racing saws, except it's been modernized just to go fast. There are still cutters or cutting teeth and a raker that moves the fiber that have been cut out of the kerf, and you'll see the saw kind of burps on each side based on which direction it's being pulled. And as Chaz said, the spray keeps those gullets between the teeth from getting full and allowing the cutting teeth to cut. I'm looking down here at stand 1 and 2. 1 and 2. Jason Lentz and Aaron Lavoie on 4. Hard to beat, but only qualified 4. Sometimes momentum is hard to stop.
3, 2, 1, go.
Matt and Kate off like a shot into the short wood. Stephanie Node and Maxime are ahead, and they've got
a good saw down there on stand 1.
Smoked them.
Matt and Kate had a good start. But boy, stand 1, Maxime and Stephanie really put the afterburners on once again. Adrian, that saw is really cutting. They've got a good piece of equipment in their hands down there.
They got a good piece of equipment, but Ches, your eye was absolutely right. They picked up speed in the bottom of that cut.
Watching the replay, Adrian, we may have to go to the timer here.
What? I've only got one good eye. I spend time as a pirate in the summer, Ches.
This may be stand number 2. I may have spoken too early out here.
Taking a look on the stream, I thought for sure that they got into the short.
Over in the corner there?
That's right.
Ooh.
While we get ready for our first
Matt Koger giving the fist pump. That's worth at least 0.2 seconds, right?
I think so.
You know, we talk about all the skills that we have with the
even on that first replay, pretty hard to tell. Again, this is where the laser timing and camera timing comes into play, computer timing. Pretty close. I do think stand 1 edged them out.
We will see and wait for the official results. The other point you make about the second, that person there to help you get set up straight. Fastest cut is straight, even, level, perpendicular from top to bottom. The spray keeps the saw moving freely. And each athlete has a number of these saws to use for single buck sawing, so sawing by yourself, double buck sawing either Jill and Jill or Jack and Jill, depending, and then set for each different wood species as well. So your quiver of saws is usually numerous. And after 3 days of competition and qualifying, athletes are going to look at the log that's up there, look at the log that they saw that they pulled before, and try to make the most informed decision that they can.
Timers are ready now, folks.
We are going to be going back across the pond.
When respect is due on our
Believe this is the 60-foot speed climb. Kind of going to
the
that
winner of this
orange
race will
line
be
2/3 of the
our
way up the
world
tree there.
champion,
Looks like we have
60-foot
Caleb Graves on the Arctic Outdoors pole and Cassidy Shear on the Zeelys pole out there. And Cassidy running back and forth. We just saw him cut the springboard. Now he's back over there looking to climb 60 feet.
Cassidy Shear. Ladies and gentlemen, this guy's 41 years young. He's been here since
What
Thursday
an
morning
accomplishment.
like everyone else, but he's been competing in all the
Cassidy
events from that
climbing.
side.
He's 41 years old.
He was just over
This
here
is
doing
possibly the
standing
most
then he was in the
physically
springboard.
demanding and
You know, this is a
potentially
great athlete
injurious
you're
or
about to see
dangerous
go
sport that
again
these
for
competitors are
another
performing in
world
out here.
title.
Of course, there's the danger aspect of dropping down from 60 or 90 feet, but there's a high impact on your body. It can easy to blow out a knee. People's shoulders have gotten dislocated. People have fallen onto a gaff or a spur at the bottom of the tree. And Cassidy's really done a good job. He's kind of streamlined his technique. Maybe doesn't climb quite as aggressively as we used to see him climb, but that's allowed him to keep competing well into his mature years of his lumberjack career here.
Mature years. What an accomplishment. He does not have a stunt double. Being in it to win it, big commitment, as you said. So they're going to be climbing 2/3 of the way up. And the gaps that we've got,
these are the traditional gaps again, Adrian. Again, you can see them velcroed toward the upper portion right below of their calf, right below their knee. That gaff is going to drop in right on the arch of their foot. Again, they're going to be sort of duck walking up the tree, heels turned in. Touch that rope to the top red line, and down they come.
I just want to go fast, Chaz. A little shake and bake coming. Caleb Graves, champion in the 90 previously, champion in the 60 previously as well. This is good. Should be a good race. Should be a great race between these two fine
Should be an
competitors.
excellent race. I got my money on Caleb, I have to say. He's really been pushing hard the last few years, has been making a name for himself as a climber. But we'll see. Cassidy's got the experience. He's been here before.
And he knows the stakes. Part of the reason Cassidy is subjecting himself to this is for the chance to win the all-around and the pride that comes with that, the honor.
Caleb's starting
Graves.
to pull ahead.
Yep.
He's up first. See that big bail from him. Cassidy with the patented hip slide. Couple of great climbs out there.
Good run from Caleb Graves and the octopus down to see Zach Ray and his mustache coming over for the high five. We've got a permit to keep that mustache only on that side of the bowl. Zach has been proudly farming that thing. And given the high five, what you said about community, when your bro does something like that, cheers are in order. Congratulations to world champion Caleb Graves.
Caleb making it look pretty easy out there. Clean run for him, no slips. Just a nice, easy, but fast descent. Just dancing his way down that pole. Good soft landing at the bottom. Looked like right around the 30 or maybe 40-foot mark, Caleb started to put on the afterburners a little bit. You can see these guys throwing that rope as high as they can. Now this is an event where size advantage can actually matter big time. Cassidy, as he started to focus more on the chopping and sawing over the past few years, he started to spend a lot more time in the gym, eating a little more, trying to bulk up, add some muscle. That can actually not work in your favor on the pole climb. You got a lot more weight to haul up the pole. Again, Cassidy's a tremendous all-around athlete, but a little bit smaller guy like Caleb, got a little less weight, able to throw that rope and just run up and down as fast as possible.
It's a study of potential energy. It's the reason I do not enjoy downhill skiing. When you put a large man on a big hill, it's hard on everybody. Good run for Caleb Graves. Good run for Cassidy Shear, though, too. Do not mean to understate his efforts there. And another world champion crown, Caleb Graves, in the 60-foot speed climb presented by Carlson, MD. Congratulations to Caleb, and thank you to Dr. Carlson. We are going to come to nearer the end of the first half of championship Saturday. We got a couple more events on the chopping and sawing stage, underhand chop, and we're going to award the Jack and Jill World Championship.
Attention to Station 5 on the chopping and soaring dock. Back to John Hughes, assisted by
We're looking at the times over here. That's about as close as you can get. 2/100ths of a second difference. We watched several angles and several speeds of that replay, and we could barely tell up here who it is, but it was stand 2, Kate Witkowski and Matt Koger. 2/100ths of a second. They took that disc off before stand 1.
I've been chasing that field for years now, so it feels really
Huge
good
win
to
there.
be on top.
753 to 755. My eye didn't catch it. Great work. And yes, Matt Koger has now been, Matt has received the last 3 medals for World Championships. First that this pair has won. Congratulations and well done to that duo.
These two have been working hard. They've been chomping at the bit for that first world title, and they pulled it off.
And 2 folks, again, Matt, stealthy and positive, Kate, kind and patient and fun. 2 people, I don't want to say that there's people, all of these people I want to see win, but 2 great champions. Great to see that hard work pay off for those 2.
Absolutely. Couldn't have gone to 2 better people out there. Both gracious and humble as always, but 2 phenomenal world-class athletes. Adrian, again, just looking at these times over there, it looks like we have less than a second separating first place through 4th place. Again,
Yes.
just testament to how high speed these events are, how precise everything is. I like your drag race analogy from before. Again, just burning through this log.
And a great commentary on the field. Lumberjack World Championships. If you're beating the people by a mile or by 10 seconds, that's tough. When you're talking about hundredths or thousandths, that is a tight field, and the sign, as you said, the energy, the effort, the perfect tool.
Got Caleb Graves out there receiving his first place medal for the 60-foot speed climb. And watching that replay, look at how high that knee kicks up on the way down. He's getting everything he can out of his body and his athleticism there.
To me, also got to be a little strategy, knowing that Cassidy's got a big bail. If you do that octopus or that kind of hokey pokey cowboy climb back, like you got chaps on, tap 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 tap, Cassidy gets down that tree real quick.
He sure does, and that hip slide is a consistent down. You're not going to get hung up with that. You're just going to slide your way down that pole. However, if you can have a good bail like Caleb has and a good, more traditional descent that he does, that typically still remains one of the faster ways to get down that tree. But again, a close race between these two sub-16-second times on the 60-foot climb. Very impressive.
We did have a gentleman competing that didn't make it into the final who was 82 years young.
Good run for those folks. We are going to see a little bit different event. This is a handicapped event in the Masters division. So these are athletes over 55. Some of these athletes within the last couple of years were still ripping off the 14-inch log. Now they're on a 12-inch log, and their starting cadence, their starting time is going to be based on their resume, their age, and their previous performance. So on go, some athletes are going to start, and then we are going to keep counting up to 48 seconds. We've got JP Mercier on stand 1 from Canada, just over 50. Dave Ingaster will start 51. He is 43 seconds back. Warwick Hallett, 65 years old, starting 30 seconds after go. From Diana, West Virginia, the king of the Lumberjacks, Mel Lenz. At 63 years old, he's still standing next to Melvin. He just radiates intensity. This guy goes 1,000 miles an hour all the time. 62-year-old Mike Sullivan, long-standing competitor, many world championships on this stage previously. And Charlie Van Hall on stand 6, 70 years old, and he will start 28 seconds. You may be wondering, why are people not starting on go if everybody's starting a number of seconds back? All of the athletes in this field were seated at the start, and we did have an 82-year-old competitor who was not qualified for the finals, so there's going to be a little bit of lull after the go cadence. none of these athletes are starting on go. This is when our 82-year-old in the field would have started, and we are going to have a little bit of lull. 23 seconds is the first mark out. Littering and, littering and, littering and. We're going to get into a wood chop here shortly.
So you mentioned a lot, or we've been mentioning a lot of these younger names that have been coming up from both sides of the pond, but the alternative, the flip side to that, is we got the names that have been around for a long time, and that's another great thing about this sport. It's really a lifetime sport. Charlie Van Hall, 72 years young out there, still chopping at the Lumberjack World Championships.
Proudly chopping here. These guys are going to be winning. This is an event that will accrue them points and result in cash prizes and the pint of pride amongst these old-timers, these long-standing athletes. Mike Sullivan on the turn, Warwick Hallett making the turn. Melvin with the turn. He's got a big front out, and he's to the short chip.
Mike Sullivan just about through that block. Charlie Van Hall.
Dave Engasser just behind him, and Melvin not far behind him. As you said, Ches, a great tradition in many other sports. In the NFL, at 30, you're an old-timer unless you're a quarterback. In golf, some of the athletes stick around a little bit longer. But this Masters division allows people to keep showing up and racing. Melvin, the father, his son Jason, racing previously. Long line of loggers from Oregon, some tough folks.
Congratulate our winner.
You know, Adrian, I sometimes think that these old-timers have an advantage in the sport. They've been doing it so long. They've seen it all. They've chopped thousands of logs. I'm still learning my lessons when it comes to wood chopping. I've still got some years to go before I get to that higher experience level, but these older gentlemen out here still showing that they got it.
Showing they got it, and the fire that you see coming out of these folks. A lot of these guys backstage, they're hanging out and working around, and you can tell they're kind of mellow. They're happy to be here. They're smiling, telling stories. Then you get them on this stage, and there a couple years ago, Melvin had some problem. Toe was bothering him, I think. He could hardly walk out here, and still, I believe it was when he was, if not 60, darn close, he still climbed out on a 14-inch log in the open division and ripped off a cut that beat a bunch of guys half his age, and then barely could walk off the stage. Keeps him in the fight. That's tradition. That's sort of excellence. That keeps people, and it's history. That's why people keep showing up to this beautiful venue with these smiling faces for the last 62 Lumberjack World Championships.
Absolutely.
Can you explain? Do you see what DJ's looking at? My eyes are tricking me a little bit. He's looking very close to the corner of Charlie Van Hall's block.
So for the underhand chop, they get to modify the top of that block of wood. They get to cut footholds into that block. As you can imagine, standing on top of a rounded off log could be kind of dangerous, tough to keep your balance up there. They're able to take a section of that wood off to stand on and have a flat surface. However, when they're making their competitive cut to sever that block of wood, they must stay in between those footholds. They draw lines on their block to give them designated chopping zone. If you do cut through that foothold, that is actually a disqualification. You would be cutting less wood.
Less diameter.
Less diameter wood if you cut through your foothold. Again, can be kind of a technicality at times, but keeps the competitors honest. Got to keep it in between the lines out there.
Absolutely. It would be a competitive advantage, plain and simple. And so athletes mark out where they want to chop, flatten their footholds to start. They're a depth and a location of your choosing. But once the competition goes, you can't be into them. So DJ and Charlie having a conversation. Ultimately, DJ is going to make a ruling, and it looks like we may not award that World Championship until after our intermission. That will conclude the first half of the Lumberjack World Championships. Stay tuned for the action to return in 15 minutes.
Side we've been seeing go back and forth. I think we got some big names out here in the standing block chop. Keep an eye on stand number 1, Aaron Lavoie. I also like Martha King over here on stand number 4. Across the pond, we've seen a few good log rolling matches, some strong women's boom running. I think we're going to see that theme continue in the second half here.
It will be interesting, and some big results to come yet. Livy Papadopoulos will be competing against Ellie Davenport in the ladies 1-2, the champion log rolling match. And we are seeing Dave Ingasser being awarded the men's masters underhand chopping discipline. We saw Charlie Van Hall off first, but judge ruled he had cut his footholds. That is a rule, that is a disqualification. And Dave Ingasser will be the winner of the men's underhand masters underhand chop.
Dave's been a long-time competitor at LWC and a long-time Steel Timber Sports competitor as well. Good to see him still hanging out, chopping that 12-inch Masters underhand, getting another World Championship trophy. Good for him.
Another World Championship for him. And a big opportunity. He said, I've been coming here to race these guys for the last 20 years. It's now that we're all past 50, and so racing the Masters. So what we're about to see is something that is not common on the Lumberjack stage. It's the ladies standing block. We saw the men cut this previously, pretty common discipline for the men, not for the ladies. So you're going to see what I think is going to be one of the best heats of ladies standing block, short of the Johnny Appleseed Festival or Cherry Valley Outdoor Games, one of the shows that the Waterfield family, the Waterfield Connection produced. We have same discipline, but the ladies don't usually do this. This is the second chop that people learn after the underhand, and although it looks like a baseball swing, the slope is vitally important. The transition to keeping a mean slope down from the skies and up from the grass. I agree with you. Erin Lavoie on 1, Alex Miller on 2. Good impact. Stephanie Node on 3, along with Martha King on 4. It should be a tight run. We got a 9-inch block on the stand. These stands that normally hold a 14. Erin Lavoie has made the turn.
We got Hannah Quigley around as well. She's one of the younger competitors up here.
Yeah, absolutely,
but
sorry.
She's got a really good cut going down on stand 6. It's going to be close, I think, between 6 and 1. Erin Lavoie coming off in first place, it looks like. Hannah Quigley getting that block off for second.
Good
Fantastic
run for Hannah.
cut. She's been putting the time in, folks. I see her on Instagram posting a lot of training videos. She's one of our younger names coming up, and wonderful cut for her.
Good cut for a good slope and technically sound. That was the thing we were talking about a little bit over the intermission. Big reach, spanning the axe and keeping the slope on.
Erin, though, couldn't be touched on that one. Big win for her. She's got the power and she's got the athleticism to back up that strong technique. And she demolished that block. She had a quick turn, good front face on that block. We were talking about that before with some of these chops where you don't put the work in on the front. You can get to the back and run into a real problem. That block does not want to come off.
And no matter how many times you chop, yes, it's razor sharp. Yes, you're swinging hard. Axe needs someplace to go. Talk about chopping dead wood or chopping into the stump. You can hit it for the rest of eternity and be doomed like Sisyphus. That block is not going to be separating. So good work for Erin, and that will be the first time that a world championship has been awarded in the ladies standing block discipline here this evening. Congratulations to Erin Lavoie, a bit of history being made right before your eyes on this beautiful Saturday.
Women's standing block, like you hinted at, Adrian, not a traditional event for many years for the women. However, a few years back, Steel Timber Sports said that we're going to throw in the women's standing block for the women competitors. So we've started to see a lot of these other major competitions, Lumberjack World Championships included, sort of follow suit, throw in the standing block chop. I think it's great for the women, get them more venues to chop at, get them more training experience, and that translates real well across all big stages.
Exactly, more competition reps, higher stakes.
And more prize money out there to be won.
Yes.
More hardware to bring home.
23-7-7, Erin Lavoie with the first world championship in the women's standing block chop.
Pretty good spread of times there, fairly close throughout all of them. But a 23-7-7. Good cut for Erin.
Yeah, and as you said, also tight field. It's a good reminder there. Even heat. So Tony Weiss founded Lumberjack World Championships in 1960. 13 years later, he founded the American Birkebeiner, a great tradition here. But the ladies' events have, this being the first time now 62 years later that we're adding the standing block. The Jill and Jill sawing and some of the underhand cutting have not been with us since the inception. So great to expand the field. Good job by the athletes.
Good to see the sport keep developing too. Keep adding in some new events, giving the women a shot at some of the traditional men events here and becoming strong women events in their own rights.
Good results for Erin Lavoie. She's just going to turn right around, leave her medal in the sawdust, and helps oiling and wedging for Jason Lentz. We're going to stay on the chopping and sawing stage with the men's single buck. We've seen the hot saw. We've seen a bunch of two-handed sawing. We're going to see one athlete pulling the saw back and forth.
That's right. We are ready to push out our first women's log.
We're going to see the 3-4 ladies log rolling match on the blue stage.
We have rolling tonight from Hudson, Wisconsin, Claire Keach.
Claire Keach. Claire Keach, some strong performances yesterday. Rolling against four-time world champion Shauna Verstegen. Shauna Martin is the name that may be familiar. She married Peter. They have 2 lovely children and are absolute forces in the log rolling community in the Madison area. Also 2 people who, I don't say this lightly, but 2 people who make the world better. You cannot stop and talk to them or communicate with them and not feel better about every aspect of your life and re-see the hope in the universe, and that's a powerful attribute for them.
There's an age dichotomy out here too.
Yes.
In this case, for the men, we saw mostly young guns coming up, younger names out there. Now we have a veteran of the sport and a relatively newer name out there.
Yes.
Again, just shows the versatility of these athletes. You take care of your body, stay in shape, keep training, and there's many, many years of competition ahead of you.
Chaz, we've said a number of times tonight, hours and hours, the training and the preparation. We did not just pick people from the stands. These athletes had to submit a resume and get ultimately invited to be on the stage. And then the athletes you're seeing here on Championship Saturday are athletes who beat out, they bested the other athletes who were available or competing. So strong stance. And then the longevity, staying in the sport. Shauna has been in this sport competing at a high level for on the order of 20 years. Claire Keach just cracking the pro ranks. A very powerful roller. Saw her yesterday just dropping bombs. She can take control of that log and boss people around. It was amazing to watch her. Shauna knows all the tricks in the book though, so powerful and strong in her own right. I think she may stand a chance to respond to Claire's bombs and see, hey.
She's a wily roller. She's seen it all at this point. These women are already switching out to that 3 log, so they don't even bother starting on the 1 log. They actually start on the 2 log for the women, and then after the time limit is up, they drop down to that 3 log.
Yep. So, by and large, athletes, smaller competitors, smaller feet, and so
log floats a little bit higher in the water. You're correct on that, Adrian. Oftentimes we see some pretty lengthy matches from the women. Men, usually they get down to the 2 log, and that's pretty rare to see it go past that. However, it's not uncommon to get to the 5 log for the women. They will get down several sizes from their starting point. It really is an endurance event. They are out there for oftentimes 10-15 minutes cumulative time.
Yes, I believe it was last year where there was a lengthy in the championship match, a long period of time that we needed to pack a snack and take a halftime because you don't score a fall until somebody goes for a swim. It is the endurance coming into play, not just strength and power, the explosive muscles, but your lungs and that burn, that lactic acid.
So again, we have another running match going on out here. Both athletes are facing in the same direction. Feet are pointed in the same direction. So they're trying to feel each other out right now. You can see them just relatively stable on top of that log. Someone waiting for someone to make a move, try and pull the other person into the water.
So Chaz, with this running match, their feet going the same direction, does that help the powerful rollers if they can both pick up speed or make the powerful moves? Or does that kind of level the playing field?
Well, that can definitely help the more powerful roller out here. If you get that log going, you can pull it real hard and fling your opponent into the water. Again, if you're someone who's more of an endurance athlete and can outlast your opponent, got to keep those quick feet moving, that can work in your favor as well.
Crosscut coming up next.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is 1 Man, Buckshot.
You can see that log rolling quite a ways out into the middle of the pond here as well.
Cassidy Shear.
Yeah, they're moving freely through the pond.
Both rollers went down. I believe the judges are motioning for Claire.
At stand 3 from
I believe
Sevierville,
Claire
Tennessee.
getting the first fall on Shauna out there. Oh, they got the long walk back in.
From Lévis, Quebec, Canada.
So they're going to roll back to the stage. Timberworks Lumberjack show bringing us women's log rolling. We've got Cassidy Shear on stand 1, Jason Lentz on 2, Dr. Slingerland on 3. We've got Maxime Mercier on 4, Rainer Shooter, former collegiate competitor, and Shockwave's Beaudry on stand 6. Watch down here Cassidy and Jason. Cassidy's got a contraption to get his feet where he wants them. He's got to be feeling like he's in the groove. Jason Lentz has also been sawing well. Maxime Mercier's got probably the good cadence.
Jason's got a great cut. Cassidy's right there with him. I think Cass might have him. Jason just
There
a
you
half
go.
pole ahead of Cass. Good cut for him.
That fist goes up in the air. Jason, a big man from West Virginia, looks like he should play power forward or tight end. And it got a saw that's every inch as tall as he is. Good run for that man. And good performance. Jason, a guy who lives this sport, wood chips in his veins.
Saw his father Mel Lentz chopping the Masters underhand before. Again, one of those family dynasties. I believe 5th generation lumberjack.
Long-standing tradition, absolutely. So the first fall in the ladies log rolling match was ruled a draw, so we're still even at 0. See some fast feet there. Shauna catching up to the speed up there. Claire with
Really,
a go ahead.
really seems that Claire's doing a pretty good job of controlling that log right now. Shauna doesn't seem to be able to move her around too much out there. But Shauna is keeping pace pretty well.
So this is where we watch and wait and watch and wait. Shauna
getting a little off balance. You see her leaning out
Oh!
too far.
Slip up from Claire.
Down goes Claire.
First fall of that match.
Would not have called that one, Adrian.
absolutely not. I was mesmerized by the pitter patter, the tapping of the feet there, back and forth and waiting for action. The other thing, you got to say it once per round. There was a little cedar in the cedar on that evac on the log. Great work by Shauna Martin getting Claire Keach. It looked like she couldn't respond quickly enough when Shauna rolled that log back. It's a Western red cedar log. They do have spikes on their shoes that start as soccer cleats to give them traction, and that's why you can see the wear path. And they step back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. So got to tell you, Jason Lentz winning the world championship in the men's single buck event. It to me is a great. We talked about the family tradition, but the thing that you should know, or the thing that is important in terms of context, loggers, the Lentz family working as loggers, these guys that were working before there were chainsaws, out doing this by hand in the woods. And in that nation, in that area of the nation, in Oregon, Washington, where the big tree still stands and where logging is still a great part of history and the culture of that community.
We are pushing out again after that last
Tough
fall.
folks
We only have
who are doing the
15
best they
seconds
can, and the
left.
filers of that time got dialed in, filing those old factory pegs, filing in those old factory pegs
Since there's only 15 seconds left,
to tune up production in the woods. You wanted your saw to cut through the log fast so that you could put more wood on the timber. That was more wood to the mill, and that was a bigger paycheck for everybody involved. So kind of cool to see the 2022 version of that. Jason defending his world championship in the men's single buck.
Absolutely. A lot of crossover a lot of times between competitors who compete in the sport for fun and then also work in the wood or the tree industry and professionally in some way, shape, or form.
to get to this point.
Back out to the women's log rolling. We are down to that number 5 log. I believe that's a 9-inch diameter log. It's got the yellow ends on it. That thing is almost completely submerged at this point.
So there was a conversation. They chose to change the logs because there's only 15 seconds going. So we have gone down in the log. I do not believe that we've gone down to the 11 yet, but Shauna is up 2 falls on Claire. The other part of the Shauna story that you should know, she was eliminated on the front bracket yesterday. She was eliminated previously and rolled through the back bracket. If you're familiar with wrestling, if you go to big wrestling meets, the opportunity to get back up to the 3rd, 4th match. So Shauna has been putting in big miles to be here, and now up 2-0 on young Claire Keach. She's got to be pleased with that. Taking a little more time here. They get 30 seconds between falls.
While those gals getting ready to go,
Gathering their thoughts, getting their minds right.
Here is the Masters 2-man cross cups.
Claire's taken a couple tough falls out there. Where it looks
Yeah,
like her
violent.
Her feet have just really gotten rolled out from under her. I think that's Shauna's experience coming into play. I've been trying to pay attention to her feet. She's been sort of reaching one of her heels around back and stomping that log a little bit. And that's kind of kicking the log, taking the momentum away from Claire, and just shooting her feet out in front of her.
Flurry of white water there. Claire Keach rocking the log a little bit. And holy cow. What do we got?
Another close call out here.
And it's the last foot on the log. And he's giving us the
Calling
timeout
it a
sign.
draw again.
I appreciate our judge putting the pole between his legs and using both hands, so I don't think that it's going one way or the other, but that was a draw.
Was a draw again. So even if you have fallen free from the log, if you have one foot extended out into Never Never Land, get a little bit of the replay there. Looks like they lost about the same time, huh?
Pretty close. I think that's a fair call on the draw.
So they're
taking that 30-second break out here, toweling off a little bit.
What you said, Chaz, about the violence of the fall. Claire's taken 2 spills that have been standing, and then have a seat on the log. Not have a nice splashy time, but have a big thump onto that log, trying to get her bearings and stay right.
That wear and tear can add up too, and if you take a hard fall like that, sometimes that's lurking in the back of your mind for your next match.
Well, I like to sit down on recliners. I do not like to sit down quickly on cedar logs. That's hard on a body.
Claire trying to kick some water out there.
Oh!
Not working out in her favor. She's going to go down.
And that is the win
Big
for
victory
Shauna.
for Shauna. Tough uphill battle, fighting her way back in, but pretty dominating performance out here we just saw from Shauna. Showing she still has a few tricks up her sleeve, and again, I think really putting her veteran experience to use here.
Absolutely.
Quick footwork, really just able to stay with Claire early on and then start to outmaneuver her once she knows Claire was getting a little bit tired out there.
And I think that's exactly it. Shauna, involved with TRX, many different aspects of fitness, takes exceptional care of herself and very serious about staying mobile, staying active in her family tradition. Just looked like she was committed to outlasting. Like it was a Snickers commercial sitting there.
It really was. We saw Claire come out of the gates hot on that last one, trying to kick some water at Shauna, trying to just do whatever she could to stay in the fight, but wasn't quite enough.
And couldn't get Shauna, like you said, the wily veteran could not get her off her game. And Shauna taking taking the match 3-0 there. Good victory for her. Ladies log rolling again, presented by Timberworks Lumberjack Shows. Thank you to the Timberworks crew. We've got a little bit of a mixed bag here. We're going to see some Masters two-hand sawing, and we have the event that I think that on the log rolling side, the championship match for the ladies that we've all been waiting for. Livy Papadopoulos, Ellie Davenport, 2 outstanding athletes, 2 very different styles and approaches, 2 very different runs to this point, and it should be outstanding.
Absolutely.
Consistent with the Lumberjack World Championships.
Absolutely, Adrian. I think we're seeing a lot of really good matches and a lot of good performances, but that's going to be a highlight for me tonight for sure, watching those 2. They both have put in a lot of work and have put on some absolutely dominating performances over the past few years and leading up till tonight over the entirety of the competition this week. Kind of the grand finale of log rolling out here is about to take place.
The grand finale and the big not just literal but metaphorical payoff for all those hours. Ellie, a distance athlete doing Ironmans, training for marathons. Livy, an athlete but a power lifter, a big weightlifter in terms of her competitive spirit, and laser focused.
Laser focused. I've seen videos of her rolling literally with ice still on the water in the early springtime, getting out there right away. I've seen some videos of her in January out there on the log. Of course, there's a lot of indoor rolling that takes place too, but I think that just speaks volumes to the amount of, or just how dialed in Livy has really gotten and how serious she takes it. She purposefully trains in various weather conditions. There's tournaments spaced out throughout the entirety of the season, and being able to handle some cold water, some adverse elements, really can tip the odds in your favor. It's not always 75 and sunny.
Yes, the mental preparation where everybody wants to do big dog stuff. Actually, everybody wants to do a big dog till it's time to do big dog stuff.
Absolutely.
And if you're putting that kind of stuff in, logging that time, that's huge. So we are going to come back before we get to that heavyweight fight. We are going to come to the chopping and sawing stage for the Masters two-hand sawing. These are mixed pairs athletes over 50.
Dave Stadler, 82.
We've got 70 and 82 with Dave Stadler, Warwick Hallett, and Dave Engasser, 51 and 65. New York and Minnesota. Warwick originally, he is someone we have imported with a history in timber sports, living in Minnesota. We got Mel Lentz and JP Mercier.
They will go on 6.
Interesting, Mel Lentz was 63 a couple minutes ago. They grow up so fast. We do have Nancy Zaleski out here with Dave Jewett, two long-standing, very accomplished two-handed sawyers. And on the far stand, we got Papa Sling, Mike Slingerland, and Mike Sullivan. Mike and Mike on stand 6. Stand 5 will be vacant.
Again, like we saw before with the Masters underhand, they do have a handicap, so they are not all starting right on go. They get seated ahead of time based on their perceived ability and previous cutting experiences.
And you'll notice, Chaz, you're diplomatic, that these athletes have been around a long time. Some of them are not twisting that saw as quick as they used to.
Not quite as much.
So we're getting a little bit of a head start. It is still a 20-inch log, the same 20-inch log that athletes have been competing on all evening. We're off in order. Melvin and JP. Mike and Mike are burning into that wood. They're into the short chip. Dave and Warwick off.
Dave and Warwick running away with that one. They get a pretty good saw. They run well together. Great cut for those two gentlemen.
Strong work for Warwick Hallett. Warwick and Dave got to be pleased. Dave with the W. Dave Engasser from New York with the win in the Masters underhand. Warwick usually running his Rotex smoothly in the hot saw. Glad to see him pick up the win in the two-hand sawing. And the big fella helping them out, Chris Savage. He is like a personal forklift.
He's a good man to have around in the timber sports community.
Yes, savvy, good dude.
If you need a tree picked up or a truck moved by hand, he's your guy.
Yes, he's a big creature. Blessings to his family. Savvy's father passed this summer. Big ups to the Savage family. Good folks. Good folks. So, I don't know if we can do the next thing we're going to see justice here, Chaz. We got the ladies 1-2 match. These are seed 1 and 2. Livy seeded 1, Ellie seeded 2. They're starting on a 14-inch log. Livy in the blue tank with no hat, seeded 1. Ellie Davenport with the orange hat, seeded 2.
Boy, and as good of a match as we saw for 3rd and 4th place, this is just going to be a whole nother level out here. And two of the best out here. These ladies have both been absolutely dominating the sport over the last few years, very much back and forth. And some very well-rounded athletes, both put in the time outside of the sport. Both multi-sport athletes. Ellie actually is becoming a cross-country skier. I believe she was involved in the Quarter Lopet half Birkebeiner race this year. Again, this is a bucking match this time, facing opposite directions, toes pointed opposite ways.
So we should see some more give and take. The log has only barely made about a half, well, now it's made a full rotation, but we're almost 60 seconds into the match before we've seen log make a whole spin. They're going back and forth.
You can see their heads slanted down. They're just locked in on each other's feet right now. That's the only place you want to be looking while you're out there on the log. You just want to be dialed in on your opponent's feet. You can see that athletic position both of them are in. They have that core locked in tight.
All right, we do have time on
Time on that one. That was not a fall.
Not a fall.
Libby just sliding off that log into the water. Again, 2-minute time limit is up. Moving down to the next smallest log.
So we're going to go from the 14 to the 13-inch log. We've got Warwick Hallett and Dave Ingasser earning their World Championship awards for the Masters double buck. Allowing the mixed pairs there so that we can have everybody who wants to compete in and then seating them as they go.
We're all close base. We've competed with each other for a long time.
Now, we were talking about horsepower before on these saws, and I don't know, Adrian, doesn't look like Warwick or Dave have lost a stride in their strokes out here. They are really pulling that saw well.
No, I agree. We were talking about this during the break. There's a sweet spot in terms of growing up that you may never be tougher physically than when you're 20. Maybe you're reaching a mental peak when you're 30. And in lumberjack sports, there seems to be a sweet spot between kind of that 30 and 50 range, where if you can take care of your body and keep your body holding on, keep your mind right, and then you've accumulated good tools, you can be in the thick of it. And those guys, as you said, I don't think it looks like they've lost much of a stride in that 20-inch log. Good run for them. We're on the 13-inch log in the ladies' championship log rolling match. The other thing I want to say about this, Chaz, about these two folks, people say living the dream. I'm living the dream. I've heard that a lot. These ladies don't just talk about it, putting time in, coaching, training. And to me, training for an Ironman or putting in powerlifting reps, you can't fake it. You can't buy that. There's no way to do it other than doing it.
You got to put in the work.
So great credit to them.
Countless hours, and absolutely, Adrian, their success speaks for themselves.
So that's why these two ladies are on this log with so much on the line.
And couldn't meet two better people either. Two of the nicest people you ever meet. Great ambassadors of the sport, always helping out the younger competitors, very gracious. Now that log's got a lot more activity on it. Saw that first log wasn't spinning quite so fast, but got a lot more activity going on out there.
Last night, John pointed out to me, Ellie has almost Velcro feet. She can defy gravity, and sometimes you'll watch her. She will have her feet approximately into that, it seems like into that 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock range, and still gather herself back in. That log is rocking. Livy backstep and drawing it under.
Livy's pulling that log pretty hard right now on Ellie. Ellie's fighting to stay on.
And just sticking and moving. Livy just tremendously powerful. She definitely holds the power advantage. Ellie,
she's got Ellie on her back step. So you saw Livy sort of working Ellie there for a period of time, kind of switching the log back and forth, just waiting for a chance to make her move. She saw an opening out there, and she just pulled for everything she had, threw Ellie right in the water.
And that was exactly it. She tried to backstep, heel up, and then just couldn't gather it, couldn't get back under. What you said, what was it, the nose, toes, and
nose, knees, toes, I think.
Yeah, nose, knees, toes.
Something like that.
And then she got off of her base and couldn't gather. That to me, the speed with which these athletes can recover and get themselves squared away, to get back under, or the time where you can't get that last poke over, and bad news. So good run, one fall. Livy Papadopoulos up, one fall. Ellie Davenport going and grabbing the towel, coming back, adjusting the hat. Deep breath, and we're racing. First person to take 3 falls.
So I see him pushing out too. We haven't mentioned this yet, but they are allowed to get a steady start. So if something happens while they're pushing out, someone slips in the water, that would not count as a fall. They have to be both set and stationed on the log before the match officially begins.
And no one with a competitive advantage. Log even.
Absolutely.
No one in control.
Absolutely.
So there's going to be a little bit of back and forth with 1 on the way to 3. Ellie doesn't want to go down 2. She did take this match to 5. Oh, and
almost recovered. There we saw Livy using a different strategy. She actually used her back step to force Ellie into the water there. Again, Livy really just using her strength and power to keep controlling that log out there. Ellie's keeping up pretty well, but she has not been able to get much of an advantage or upper hand on Livy to this point. A little celebratory dance from Livy out there. She was happy about that one.
That was amazing. Like I feel like I've seen a lot of log rolling. I'm doing my best to understand and to grow. But that was amazing on her back step, and Ellie still almost kept it together, shrunk down the proprioception and the control of balance, tapped the feet, dropped the center of gravity, but ultimately ends up in the drink.
Absolutely. And I know we've been talking about Livy's strength and her powerlifting ability, but she has the endurance to back it up as well, too. Again, just from the hours she spends weekly log rolling, I know she trains running and distance as well.
Yep.
So she's got a culmination of a few things going on. And then she's got the technical mindset. I mean, I think she has a mindset of someone with many years of experience, and she's pulling some pretty advanced moves out there.
Oh.
And there she goes. 3-0 win for Livy Papadopoulos. Huge victory. Absolutely dominant performance from Livy Papadopoulos. Great run from Ellie Davenport. Should not be overshadowed with how talented Ellie is as well. But again, what we're seeing from Livy is really just next level stuff, Adrian.
It's unbelievable. I grew up in the 90s in the Midwest. I watched Jordan stack championships. So that's 4-time world champion Livy Papadopoulos. 4 in a row, putting her in rarefied air of people who've done that. As I understand, we're talking about Judy Shear, Tina Salzman, and Jenny Atkinson off the top of my head with my book not open. Apologies. That's amazing. You're talking
That's some
about
rare company. We're seeing a rare feat right now, folks.
Writing your name in the book of history in pen. Cheers and hats off to Livy Papadopoulos and to those athletes who come before her. We are seeing some true excellence here. Well done and well done. Enjoy that, and thank you to Timberworks Lumberjack Show for supporting ladies log rolling at the 2020 Lumberjack World Championship. We're going to go back to Jack and Jack, two-handed sawing. So these are going to be a two-man team. We've got Matt Koger, Matt Slingerland. We got Mark Boquin and Jason Lentz. We got Melvin Lentz. I'm looking at stand 1 and 2. Jason and Matthew used to be partners. They're not sawing together anymore. These should get burned off. Matt and Matt in deep to it.
It's going to be another really close one, but my eye, I think stand 1.
So in the rest of the field, we do have the Northeastern contingent, Billy Cornelius and Trevor Beaudry. We have Dave Jewett with JP Mercier, 2 great friends. JP always making sure that Dave's got a good saw in his hands. We got Mike Sullivan and Mike Slingerland. They were sawing together before, and then we had Maxime Mercier and Melvin Lentz. I don't know who it was down here. It's
going to be stand 1. Watching the replay over here. It's going to come down to a few hundredths of a second again, most likely, but does indeed look like stand 1. Matt and Matt, Dr. Matt, and national champion Matt Koger on stand 1.
Big Matt Koger. Jason and Mark on stand 2, I think in terms of overall horsepower rating, there's a lot to go on that saw, but we got it officially 642 for the team Matt and Matt, 659 for Jason and Mark.
Got about a 1500ths of a second difference coming just down to the wire. Some good cuts out there.
Yeah, screaming fast. What you'd hope for on Championship Saturday. So we are going to go back across the pond to the 90-foot speed climb. 90 whole feet brought to you by Arctic Outdoors. And so these are going to be our 1 and 2 seeds for the championship, for the World Championship. Going wide open, 90 feet up in the air. Chaz, why do they do this?
I don't know, Adrian. I have not figured it out. They call it the loony bin over there.
Yes.
As old John Hughes likes to say, that fence is not there to keep you folks out. That fence is up there to keep the climbers in. They're absolute lunatics, folks.
So in the woods out west, if you were setting up a high line for logging, you might have to climb up and set rigging that high so that the carriage could run down and set the chokers. Sean Yokoyama on the Zeele's tree.
International competitor from Okinawa, Japan.
Caleb Graves, stand two-time world champion. Last year, he very casually won this championship, took his spikes off and went happily over and won the Boom Championship back-to-back. You talk about a tough double like the track meets. This would be some cooking.
Judges and time is ready.
I like Caleb Graves in this event. I think he's got the experience at this point. He's an excellent climber. Sean's got a bit of a jump on him, though.
See if he's got another gear. Sean is not slowing down. He might be picking up cadence past 60.
It's all going to come down to the down here.
Exactly. It's coming to the
neck
bail.
and neck.
One more throw, and they
tight, but there's Caleb Graves with his massive bail. We saw a little bit more conservative down from him on the 60, but he put everything he had into that down. Folks, we were talking about the Women's Championship log rolling event. This is another premier event, the Men's 90-foot Championship. Absolutely incredible. I was watching the start pretty closely. Caleb was actually a little bit slow on the gun there, just a half-second stutter step at the bottom. Sean had a really strong up. Caleb was able to gain just enough ground, and then this bailout. Adrian, absolutely incredible. Just picture-perfect performance out there.
I have to ask you, Chaz, it looked like Caleb was kind of metering himself. He was going not one whisker farther than required to make that last flip, and that gave him a little bit of a head start on the way down.
Absolutely.
And just edged him barely a second.
It's sort of a timing game. You try and get close enough where you can kick your spurs out and flip your rope at the same time.
And waste, exactly, and waste no time.
Waste no time, no extra distance, then you have to travel.
That was amazing. That was amazing. A sign of preparation, confidence in your preparation, confidence in your skills. Great W for Caleb Graves. We've got Livy Papadopoulos down here on the stage, earning her 4th World Championship medal in the ladies log rolling. So great work, and as you said, 2 premier events here in Hayward contested this last week in July, World Championships. I am not aware, correct me if I'm wrong, I am not aware of another 90-foot climb. There are other log rolling events, but they do not constitute the World Championships.
Absolutely, the log rolling and the speed climbing are 2 fairly unique events to the World Championships and Midwestern lumberjack sports in particular. Again, this is the premier log rolling championship event that we have in the country, or actually in the entire world. And the same with the speed climbing. This is the only true 90-foot speed climb that we have currently. So pretty special event to be able to witness here. And boy, back to Caleb, just one of the cleanest climbs I think I've ever seen, other than maybe that slight hiccup on the start, if you even want to call it that, but no slips on the way up. Excellent bail at the top, getting that rope flick that we talked about, and then just a textbook down. Just absolutely sending it on the way down.
Great efficiency and great result. It was outstanding work, and as you said, the technician there. We now have team Matt and Matt Koger, Matt Slingerland, 2 multi-generation competitors competing together in the 2-hand sawing, the men's double sawing.
This is my first one. Yes.
Matt Sling, Dr. Sling, winning his first World Championship.
Good for that young man. He puts a lot of time into this sport as well.
Coming here with his father as a child, now bringing his own son. His boy was making the rounds. Great work for Team Matt and Matt. Want to step back just a second on Livy Papadopoulos, giving the shout out to the people that she coaches, not just living the sport for personal preparation, but coaching the next generation. In order to keep these programs going, these 3, 4, 5-year-old kids, these very young children who are getting started, it takes the watchful eye and more experienced coaches. And so thinking about that, not just in this sport, but in all sports, when you've got a chance to coach, give back to the sport that gives you so much. one to take advantage of, and Livy very active in that as well, in addition to her own preparation.
She really, early on, became a student of the game. She learned everything there was to know about log rolling, both from her own experience and from working with other mentors and coaches, but she's really become a very versatile and very experienced master log roller at a very young age. And like you said, Adrian, she's doing a lot of work to continue to coach the younger generation coming up. Just an absolutely fantastic person, always very cheerful, and fantastic competitor.
And great work for her. Also, not just the quality of that match that we saw, but as I'm looking around and I'm looking at the history of things, what an exciting thing it is to see a 20-something-year-old person getting a start in this when we've been announcing other athletes who have celebrated their 20th birthday long ago. Bright future in that sport, bright future on this stage, a great opportunity.
Absolutely. Again, a pretty special thing we have going on here at the Lumberjack World Championships. We have a lot of the semi-professional and amateur rolling matches early on. The under, I forget what the exact brackets are, but you have like the U18 and the U12. And then we got the Masters events going on. We got gentlemen in their 70s and 80s cutting out here. So again, you get that big age dichotomy. True lifetime sport, true family sport. And a lot of fun to boot.
We didn't have very good participation over on the log rolling dock. So, John, let's try that one more time.
I was going into the history archives. In terms of consecutive world titles, only Tina Salzman, Judy Shear, Cindy Cook, and Jenny Atkinson have won at least 4 in a row on the ladies' side. Papadopoulos just joining those ranks. We are watching some great work here.
Do we have anyone with more than 4 in a row?
I do not know that. I know that my understanding is that 10 total is the professional mark of note historically. And when you think about that, I got parts of my beard that are 10 years old, but 10 years is a big commitment to a sport and winning it each time.
Absolutely. That'll be something to keep your eyes on in the coming years.
So we are going to, as we mentioned before, Caleb Graves, fresh off the win in the 90-foot climb. Here he is on the boom run. Just like with the ladies before, they're going to have a chance to use both booms. These are our top 4 qualifiers. Watch them go. There's a level of reckless abandon that my mom won't sign the permission slips for. Charlie Fenton runs like a maniac. He stays in the center of the log, and it looks like he is shot out of a cannon. Caleb Graves goes fast, looking a little bit more under control. And watch their turn on the barrel. You talk about the nuance of the last throw on the climb. Watch them turn on the barrel to not waste time and keep their momentum going. Time starts on go and stops when they get back off of the dock, when they cross that laser. On the red boom, we've got world champion in the 90-foot speed climb and defending world champion in this event from Seymour, Tennessee. He works as a lumberjack entertainer. We've got Caleb Graves. On the blue stand, 4-time world champion in the men's boom, currently residing in Tennessee at the Lumberjack feud. We've got Charlie Fenton.
Again, this is another premier matchup tonight, Adrian. These guys both world champions in this event. These guys work together and train together, and you bet they like competing against each other.
Exactly, bringing steel sharpens steel. So keep an eye. I got to believe Caleb's got a little bit of wind blowing through. He's puffing his cheeks, making the corner. They make the turn.
Fast transition from Caleb, Adrian.
Yep, he got out of that barrel quick, and despite the fact that he was more than 90
He's got
feet.
something to prove again. Coming off a 60-foot climbing championship, a 90-foot, and now he is out here going for number 3 tonight.
I don't know what to say, Chaz. I don't think words are adequate for this. Moments ago, he was 90 feet above the bowl. Now he was skittering across it on logs. Our number 1 qualifier, 13.92, and previous world champion, who we saw win in the log rolling. We've got Anthony Polentini on the blue side, on the red side rather. Red side is Anthony Polentini. Cameron Pilgreen on the blue dock to our right. Watch for Anthony to let it rip. He can move on the logs, on the water.
Contestants ready.
He can move. That's all I have to say about him.
Go.
Jump in the cadence. You'll see him working right down the center of the logs. Arms keep moving a little bit together.
Cameron
Even
around
turn.
that barrel first.
Yes. Bit of a shock. Cameron Pilgreen around, but loses his cadence.
Loses his rhythm in the middle there. Saw how that log got spinning a little bit too much. I actually thought he was going to end up in the drink for a second there. Really good recovery from him.
And
Anthony, however, kept his momentum going. He's able to have a good, steady run all the way back.
That was the impressive thing. Cameron Pilgreen was a log or so, log and a half ahead when he encountered the turbulence. Anthony Polentini keeps it together. So Charlie and Caleb have switched sides. They've got one dry run in the book, so look out.
Time is ready. Contestants ready.
Caleb with the beard,
2,
Charlie without.
go.
I don't know about you, Adrian, but I can't even run this fast on dry ground,
Absolutely
let
not.
alone logs. Now, we just saw Caleb took a dive there into the pond.
Charlie
He's
kicking
going to
it.
gather himself.
Good
Charlie
run.
with a fast run.
Yes.
So Caleb a little unconcerned about getting a time here. He had a lightning fast first run.
Exactly.
So he may have been trying to push the envelope a little bit on this second one here, seeing if he could beat that ripper of a first time.
And that's why he was also a little bit more casual on the run back.
Absolutely. Good run from Charlie, though.
13.97, just 500ths behind the fastest qualifying time. Cameron Pilgreen will now be on the red boom. Anthony Polentini to our right on the blue boom.
I think we're going to see both these guys go for it here. Anthony trying to chase the times of Caleb and Charlie. Cameron's got to lay down a fast time if he wants to be in the mix.
1, go.
He's been in the thick of it the last 2 nights. Let's see if he can put the whole run together, and then we will wait for the final time. They're looking close to the barrels. They'll turn together.
Good clean transitions from both. Anthony into the pond this time. Cameron's going to hang on.
Cam
Almost
keeps
got
it
in trouble again in the middle, but was able to keep it going. Good run from him.
That was good. I'm interested to see how that shakes out, because
That's a fast time.
that was a ripper.
Now, these guys are allowed to get back up on that log. Tough to do. Those things are free spinning out there. They're wet and slimy at this point in the night. I think Anthony's going to call her good. Great first run from him. World championship in the log rolling match earlier. He's having a fantastic week.
Yeah, great run. Glad to see Cameron Pilgreen put it together in his run. We will wait for the times to be tabulated electronically before we award the men's boom running championship. Men's boom run brought to you by Indec Energy and Grillers Gold. We're going to come back to the chopping and sawing stage with a ladies single buck event. We've got, looking for some familiar faces, we've got some folks that you've seen before in the other sawing disciplines. On stand 1, we've got Andrea Card. Stand 2, we have Aaron Lavoie coming to us from Washington. We've got Hannah Quigley on stand 3. Laura Helmick on stand 4 under the watchful guise of Mr. Adam LaSalle. Papa Sling with Martha on stand 5, and Stephanie Node with JP on stand 6. Martha cut a smoking fast one yesterday. I keep an eye down here on the ends of the field.
We're going to see some fast cuts out here, Adrian. These ladies have some good wedgers for them who double as a coach, giving them some extra tidbits of info while they're sawing through that log. Maybe a little extra encouragement. And they've got some good saws they're pulling.
Yes, you notice JP Mercier down here with Stephanie on stand 6. JP, one of the finest manufacturers and filers in the business. Watch closely.
Contestants ready. 3, 2, 1, go.
Off even.
Starting on that go. Trying to run that saw flat and smooth. Saw a few hangs on stand 4 from Sarah.
Stephanie's deep into that log. I think Stephanie's half a cookie ahead, but Aaron's in the short wood.
Stephanie's running
off.
away with this one.
Wow.
We had a few good cuts going on, but Stephanie was just head and shoulders above everyone else. She's got some good saws this weekend, but she is running them for all they're worth. to see her pulling that saw for just about the full length, trying to put each of those teeth to use. Boy, when these saws cost $2 or $3 grand, you better get your money's worth out of them. And pull them for every tooth available.
You pay for every tooth, you better use every tooth.
Absolutely.
And especially when JP is standing next to you, you will lose a tooth efficiently. Chaz, can you speak to what does it take to make a good run? Because these are fast, excuse me, the saws are sharp, they should go fast, but buying a fast saw doesn't mean you're going to be a fast hand sawyer.
Absolutely. There's a lot of technique that goes into it. It looks like you're just trying to go up there and pull that thing back and forth as fast as possible. You're really trying to drive with your legs, pull that saw back as far as you can. These saws actually have a little bit of a belly to them, we call it. Those teeth are not the same length all the way across. So you're trying to feel the saw as it's running through the wood, trying to cut your far wood on the push stroke and your near wood on the pull stroke. Hopefully I said that right.
Yeah.
And so again, there's a lot of technique. You see a few variations. You see some people who like to move it a little bit shorter and faster, more powerful strokes. But it seems like the best sawyers typically stretch that saw out for all their length, really drive with those legs and hips. And the upper body and legs just kind of become an extension of that.
Yeah, driving and pushing, not just hands, not just arms. You can do it, put your back into it. Takes every ounce. And a great run by Stephanie. Hearing the announcement here, first time world champion in the men's boom, Cameron Pilgreen did put it together on his last
Great run for that young man.
In the qualifying rounds, he was in the thick of it, but finally put it together when the chips were down. And then 90-foot world champion, 90-foot speed climb champion, Caleb Graves, taking the 60 and the 90. They come over together on the booms.
I was going for it in the boom, but I'm really happy to see Cameron win. He's a better man today.
Good for Cameron, knocking off a few veteran competitors in the boom run. A few multi-time world champions in the boom run.
Tight field, so, good run.
Again, good to see the tight field. Good to see some new names coming up, and nothing but grace from Caleb out there, and big smile on Cameron's face right now.
Yeah, he's got to be happy. And the payoff of the time and energy, putting it all together, great win for him. Good W for Caleb Graves.
I believe Cameron has actually been picking up an axe a little bit more recently.
Yeah.
He's been starting to swing it at a few other smaller local shows, so keep your eye on the chopping dock in the next few years, folks. You may see him over here.
Cameron, a good-natured young man. I had a little bit of a salvage operation going off the back of the stage. We had a DeWalt drill go for a swim, and I do not recommend running your cordless tools underwater. And so all of these enthusiastic young folks said, hey, we got to go get it. And I said, could you guys please get it? And they jumped in and got it straight away. It was great, and so we kept everything going. And, yeah.
Great young man.
Good folk. Good to see it work out and positive results.
I think, Adrian, we should mention that tough first run that Cameron had. He had
yes.
an excellent down, coming back, really just lost his momentum and almost lost his way on the logs altogether. But to come back after that and put together as fast of a run as he did here, to get the world championship, that is very impressive.
It's huge. And in qualifying last night, that was the thing. He was racing against Anthony, and he had Anthony by a log and a half, fully a log and a half when he went swimming. And it stood out because Anthony qualified one. Anthony qualified one, was putting down some screaming times. So good work for him, Cameron Pilgreen. We are going to be awarding the World Championship to Stephanie Node in the ladies single buck, presented by Northern Lakes Co-op. Great work to her. She has not been here in a number of years.
Boy, looking at the times over here, Adrian, it looks like a full 3 or 3.5 seconds almost ahead of everyone else. Absolutely dominant performance from her out on the single buck tonight.
Yes, great work. And I was going to say, that's a big W on a good field. Just about 3-second lead. Coming down to us from Canada, lady who's very active in the competitions up there, making the rounds, top-notch professional. Setting a world record in the underhand previously, world championship in the single saw. Great work, great work.
Well, congratulations again, Stephanie.
Great work in a tough field.
She is the world champion single for
We are going to come back to the chopping and sawing stage for the men's underhand chop.
Competition for men's underhand chopping.
And it looks like some familiar faces out here for this event as well, Adrian.
Yes. Everybody on the stage has been. We've got our Swedish friend Ferry Svan on stand 1. Cassidy Shearer, who has been busy, originally of Hayward, now of Minneapolis. The big man from West Virginia. We've got Jason Lentz. On station number 4, we've got Trevor Beaudry. He is from New Hampshire and is traveling with Shockwaves. Looking for the sweep and the chops today, we've got Matt Koger. And on stand 6, coming to us all the way from North Fork, California, it's Nate Hodges. Nate never stops moving. He is an entrepreneur, a hustler, and a hardworking cat. I'm watching Matt Koger. He didn't get it in 18 in the standing block. Let's see if the wood's there to make a rip in this underhand. Watch and stand 5 closely.
1, go.
All the athletes are in together.
Synced up first hits.
Got 8
I'm
in the
watching
front.
stand 5. Matt's got a good cut going
And
on.
he's
He's
turned.
already around to the back.
With Jason. Taking a short chip. He's getting the bottom out of that log. Matt Koger's going for the drives here. And he's one more, and he's off. I say to you,
Thumping
good
that
day.
block. That's a sweep if I ever saw one.
Good run. Put a big front in. You saw when he made that turn, what was he, 7 in the back?
I think it was 7 in the back. Had to go back and chase that forward one more time. He broke through his top. The axle pretty much went clean through.
Yep.
And went back to make his final driver on the bottom. And kind of what we saw on the standing block where he had those few fibers just hanging on. Almost the exact same thing here on his underhand, but able to stick with it. Got that last short hit in to sever the block, and yet another world championship.
And a big work in the chops, so referring to the standing block, the underhand, and the springboard, the 3 chopping disciplines. Strong work for Matt. And as you said, a little bit in the standing when that last fiber doesn't go, you got to reconfigure and reach. On the underhand, I think it's almost more disruptive. You're expecting and you relax, and that relaxation or that letting go, that can be curtains.
It's also tough to see the bottom of that log when you're standing on top of it.
Yes.
And sometimes it comes down to a judgment call. If you keep swinging at it, even if it is severed, the clock will keep ticking. If you take a hit and you think, that might be off, and you stop and get down, you're taking a gamble. If you're right and you did sever that block all the way, your time would have stopped as of that last hit. But if you get off and that block's not severed and you call time, then that would be a disqualification, did not finish.
And DNF, absolutely. And it's, again, a bit of strategy. 14-inch log, the bottom of that block is way under there. So can't see it, got to commit to it. So we are going to award another world championship, but we are going to set the stage for a veritable smorgasbord of lumberjack activity to close out Championship Saturday. What are we going to see here as our last event, and I hesitate to call it a singular event going forward here?
We get the classic relay race going on. We're going to get a little taste of every single event out here, just about. Pre-select teams based on previous performances and kind of each athlete's specialty, put a team together, a mix of men and women. We're going to see climbing, boom running, sawing, chopping, multiple chopping events. So it's going to be pretty fun. The relay race is what we're about to witness.
So based on previous year's performance, athletes are seeded into teams to compete in all these disciplines. Each team has run once on Thursday or Friday, and the top 2 teams are going head-to-head. Different level of accountability here. I've never raced well enough to qualify to cut in the relay. Have you, Chaz?
Not at this event. I have at smaller competitions, but not at the Lumberjack World Championships before.
So there's a lot of pressure. There's an added amount of pressure because if you don't do well, it's your problem. But now you got other people who are counting on you.
Right. It can be a tough event because you still got to cut your own race. You got to focus on your own event. If you start thinking about what the other team's doing or start thinking about what's going to happen after you start to lose focus, maybe start misplacing some hits or might slip off the boom. And there's a lot of moving parts that are going on.
Yep. The what if, you got to stay in your mind.
Always a crowd favorite event, though. and a great way to camp out, great way to finalize or finish off championship Friday or Saturday here,
Literally bouncing across the bowl. We're going to have climb, boom, boom, chop, saw, chop. Sounds delicious.
Quick. Absolutely.
And it should be quick. So we are also going to award our all-around championship based on performance of success in disciplines, all the disciplines that we saw. The overall world championship, or the all-around award, is based on athletes' performances or the points that they scored in their rank on all of the events, that they competed in. So you start thinking about a name like Matt Koger or Cassidy Shear. Matt Koger winning a lot of events, but not competing in every event. Cassidy Shear, I think that he competed in every event that we saw today.
I think he competed in every single event. He may not have been in the championship round today, but he still gets all-around points for his finishes earlier in events like the log roll or the men's boom run. The axe throw is also happening, so that's one strategy. Cassidy's kind of been an all-around athlete for just about as long as he's been involved in the sport. He's trying to come in, grab as many points as possible from each event, hopefully make a few finals like we've seen him do tonight, and see if he can put enough together. We got Matt Koger out here then taking a clean sweep in the 3 chopping events.
Andy won Jack and Jill.
We're going to win the Jack and Jill and the men's
double
buck as well, I believe. So
that's 5 big W's.
He's not climbing, he's not log rolling yet, but he's grabbing a lot of big points with these first place finishes. So we'll be curious to see how that shakes out in just a few moments here.
Absolutely. So we've got the ladies captaining these teams. We've got looks like Team Zaleski versus Team Down. They are going to be cutting in the middle between the chops. The standing block will conclude the event. Climb first. And we're just waiting for the final configurations and the final tabulation of our points. The relay race that you are about to see is brought to you by Dinty Moore.
See these guys getting their final adjustments out there, getting those blocks of wood pounded in, putting some shims in there, mounting them on the underhand cradles. Very gear-intensive sport, as you can imagine. Just all the axes and saws that they need, but then you need all the fancy stands. You need the chopping dock to train on. A lot goes into it. But this is peak performance for all these athletes. Everyone's happy to be out here on the big stage tonight.
Yes, and everyone will be celebrating their wins and their losses at the conclusion. The payoff for 3 days of hard work and hustle here in the Northwoods after a season of investment. Chaz, this is the 62nd annual Lumberjack World Championships, a 3-day contest of lumberjack sports held here in the Lumberjack Bowl in beautiful Hayward, Wisconsin. If you are watching us on the broadcast this year and would like to see us in person next year, mark your calendars for July 27, 28, and 29 of 2023. Look forward to seeing you here. In addition to lumberjack events that you see going on in the bowl, there is a full complement of outdoor-related, lumberjack and tree-related fair and opportunity to go to booths, get educated, get opportunity to see some carving, and just spend the day here enjoying the beautiful Northwoods. I grew up coming up to Park Falls, Wisconsin, and spending a little bit of time on the water. Although I live in Colorado now, we don't really have water. It's a beautiful time to be up here, sharing this time now as the sun goes down and everybody's sunburn quiets a little bit, a beautiful venue with the top-notch competitors on the stage before you.
Absolutely, folks. If you haven't been up here in person, strongly encourage you to come check it out. Hayward, Wisconsin is a wonderful place. Sort of a magical town that just saying Hayward always brings some excitement into my eyes. I always love coming up here. And great group of people up here, a lot of good friends. Might even get to say hi to some of the competitors backstage to see them walking around. And I agree, Adrian. Couldn't be a better evening to cap off Championship Friday here. Saturday, excuse me, I got my days mixed up again.
So, all good. So,
I haven't been celebrating early yet, I promise you.
So, the other thing of note here in the historic Lumberjack Bowl in 2018, the Secretary of the Interior added Lumberjack Bowl, the site of the World Championships, to the National Register of Historic Places. So we can tell you how historical it is all day and all night, but recognized nationally as a true treasure. And beautiful time to be up here in Hayward. I enjoy the cool and the quiet of this time of night. We saw some eagles on the way in, listened to some loons, actually a fair number of cranes that I heard this morning, which to me is such an addition to the peace and quiet of the morning.
Absolutely.
So we are going to finish with the relay, award a championship to the relay, award an all-around championship. And so we have Tristan Van Beek passing off to Katie Burke, passing it off to Charlie Fenton. On the stage, we've got Mark Boquin, single Sawyer. We've got Nancy Zaleski, Hayward native and national treasure herself. And Dr. Matt Sling on the standing block. On Team Lindsay Down, the blue boom. The speed climber is Devin Blair from Winter, Wisconsin. Boom runner is Claudia Duffy. Connor Birdsong making the run on the other boom. Nate Hodges from North Fork, California. Lindsay Down pulling the single buck. And Matt Koger. A heck of an anchor they've got on that relay team. So yes, it will be fast. And Chaz, you made to me a key point. Do what you can do. You don't want to miss the handoff here and put your team behind, and you don't want to pull too many gears and get your team out of control.
Contestants ready.
So we got Devin and Tristan on the far side.
1, go.
Going to go up 60
Big
foot.
slip for Tristan. They're going to that 60-foot line.
Luckily, his beard protected him. Tristan has a majestic beard and mustache. Got about 2, and he's got a little bit of a leaky foot. He makes the throw. Devin with a cautious
Devin down
down.
already. We got Claudia Duffy going across. Katie Burke right there with her.
2 logs back, say.
Connor Birdsong coming back, trying to hang on. Charlie's gaining some ground.
He reels him in.
Folks, we are neck and neck into the underhand. Nate and Mark Boquin just about blow for blow.
Yep. They made up some ground. Nate with a hop turn.
Hodges coming in guns ablaze, and Mark Boquin smashing that block out here.
He's got some Sasquatch anger on that. He is hammering that. Nate Hodges will drive it off.
At the same time.
They're even.
2 legendary single Sawyers out here, Nancy and Lindsay.
Lindsay winning her
Stroke
first.
for stroke right now.
Yeah, they're even. She won her first championship in a single at 16 years old. They're into the short wood together. They're going to, Lindsay just lead Matt Koger. 5, 6, and Matt's, and he's putting 2 up, and he'll turn. He's about a blow ahead. 2.
Who did their work on the front?
Looking for the drives. Matt Koger's got 1 more far wood, and he's out. Oh, he's shorted it. And he's off. Matt Koger. Matt Sling knew he had to give it the mustard. He could put a short front in there.
Matt Sling wanted to turn with Matt Koger, I think, and he did it, but maybe regretting that move.
Yep.
That's what you want out of a relay race, Adrian. Saw the lead change a few times.
Yes.
Saw him neck and neck right at the finish there. What a great way to finalize, cap off an awesome 3 days of competing.
Strong work by Matt Koger. I thought he was going for the drives a little earlier than he should.
Boy, really the Matt Koger show tonight, walking away with 5 world championships and anchoring his team to a relay win. Doesn't get much more dominant than that.
Great work from Matt Koger. Thank you for joining us on the broadcast of the 62nd Annual Lumberjack World Championships. Good night and enjoy your week. Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I must apologize because I've made a big oop